Chapter 500. The so-called sea god stared at the four symbols venerables. His heart was also shocked. He received the report from his subordinates, especially Gue Qiansui, who was really shocked and scared. He had not transformed into a human for long, but after observing that there were not many powerful people on the sea, he had evil thoughts and proclaimed himself as the sea god. From there, he stirred up trouble and prepared to be the overlord of a region. For this, he specially collected a group of pirates and made them his puppets to do things for him. However, things were unpredictable. His carefree days did not last long before he encountered a hard nut to crack. When Gue Qiansui fled back to report, he really did not believe it, but at this moment, seeing the giant body of the four symbols venerables, he finally no longer doubted it. The four symbols venerables was bigger than most monsters, and the key was that the aura they emitted made the other party not dare to underestimate them. However, in front of so many subordinates, he certainly could not lose face, and said sternly, "You want to save your companions, don't you? Dream on, you have injured so many of my subordinates, your companions can forget about living." Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment, and quickly asked, "You mean there are other people who have been captured by you?" "Of course, that princess and her attendants are imprisoned by me. If you are sensible, you will be captured without a fight, or they will die without a doubt," the sea god said fiercely. Tang Zheng breathed a sigh of relief for no reason. The death of a beauty like princess and was really a loss to the world. Although he thought so, Tang Zheng still said without changing his expression, "You are mistaken about one thing, I am not friends with them. If you want to kill them, do as you please. Now we are dealing with the matter between us. This dragon palace is not something you can meddle in. Obediently take your shrimp soldiers and crab generals and withdraw, or don't think about leaving this matter at that." The sea god glared and flew into a rage. "You actually want to snatch my immortal's cave, you have eaten a lion's heart and leopard's guts. Children, attack!" Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Several groups of shrimp soldiers and crab generals rushed out of the dragon palace, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws to attack Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was not afraid at all. Most of these shrimp soldiers and crab generals were just low-level demon beasts that had just gained intelligence. Their fighting strength was not on the same level as that of the octopus demon beast. It seemed that although the dragon palace was magical, it did not breed many powerful demonic beasts. Obviously, the power of the dragon palace was limited. "Do it." At Tang Zheng's command, Huang Xiang and Xiao Bai took the lead and rushed out. They were like sharp swords in the sea, and the water automatically parted to two sides. The prawn soldiers and crab generals clamored and charged forward. However, Huang Xiang and Xiao Bai's movements were much faster than their opponents. With a whooshing sound, the demon head saber slashed out and several of the prawn soldiers and crab generals were cut into pieces. Xiao Bai's attack was very fierce. The seawater did not hinder the spread of the flames. The flames immediately enveloped several shrimp soldiers and crab generals. They did not even have time to scream before they were immediately vaporized into wisps of clear air. Tang Zheng also made his move. His huge body rampaged. The prawn soldiers and crab generals cried for their parents. How could they be a match for him? In a short while, all of the prawn soldiers and crab generals were lying on the ground. The sea god was flabbergasted. Clearly, he had greatly underestimated the strength of Tang Zheng's side. When Tang Zheng rushed towards him, he shouted and rushed out of the dragon palace. Splash! The water splashed as a shiny weapon pierced the Knight of Four Symbols. Sparks flew, but the Knight of Four Symbols was unscathed. The Knight of Four Symbols grabbed at the sea god's head. The huge palm was like a mountain, causing the pressure in the water to increase sharply. The sea god's knees went soft and he almost fell to his knees. He let out a loud roar and stabbed the weapon in his hand into the ground. The sand at the bottom of the sea flew up, and he finally stabilized his body. Then, he leaped and actually jumped onto Tang Zheng's arm. He wriggled upwards and rushed towards Tang Zheng's head. The weapon in his hand was aimed at Tang Zheng's temple. Tang Zheng finally saw his weapon clearly. It was a trident. It was bright and was very similar to the construction material of the Dragon Palace. It was more like a piece of art than a weapon. This must be a weapon from the Dragon Palace. This guy's luck is pretty good. This weapon is an Earth-rank treasure. It's even more powerful than my battle soul. However, with the protection of the Knight of Four Symbols, Tang Zheng was equivalent to being invulnerable. All of his attacks were wide open, and it was difficult to determine the victor between him and the sea god. The other sea demons watched this scene with their mouths agape. In their impression, the sea god was unreachable and invincible. However, this big guy was actually so powerful that he was not at a disadvantage at all. It completely overturned their worldview. The sea god gradually clenched his teeth and did not have the leisure to speak. However, his face became gloomier and gloomier. His handsome face became somewhat sinister. Bang! The Knight of Four Symbols and the trident collided head-on. The trident flew out of his hand. The sea god reacted quickly and tried to snatch it back. However, Tang Zheng was even faster. With a thought, the Four Symbols Venerable relied on his height and size to block the other party's path with a horizontal movement, and ruthlessly slapped down with his palm. Slap! The sea god was sent flying by the slap. It was unknown how far he flew before he disappeared without a trace. The Knight of Four Symbols grabbed the trident and threw it to Huang Xiang. The other sea demons cried out in alarm. Some of the sea demons who were hiding in the Dragon Palace and did not have time to rush out trembled in fear and hurriedly retreated. Roar, I'm going to kill you. A roar came from afar. The seawater boiled and bubbled chaotically. Boom! A golden light flew over from afar. This golden light became more and more dazzling. In the blink of an eye, this space was completely dyed in gold. A huge object slammed into the Knight of Four Symbols' body. With a boom, the Knight of Four Symbols lost his footing and fell to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. The golden light followed like a shadow and instantly enveloped the Knight of Four Symbols. The Knight of Four Symbols was immediately wrapped tightly by the golden light. Caught off guard, he was knocked over. Tang Zheng was truly shocked, but he did not panic. He took a closer look and saw clearly what this golden light was. This was the sea god's true form. Tang Zheng was all too familiar with this true form. A dragon. This guy was actually a dragon. He had not completely transformed into a dragon. He was only a flood dragon and could not be compared to the five-clawed golden dragon. However, he already had some of the appearance of a dragon, such as these golden scales. However, the meticulous Tang Zheng still discovered that these golden scales were mixed with black scales. Clearly, this was a sign that the sea god had not completely transformed into a dragon. Moreover, he only had 2 claws. His level was too low. But even so, he still had the aura of a dragon. This strand of dragon chi was extremely familiar to Tang Zheng, and he actually felt a sense of intimacy from the bottom of his heart. However, the sea god obviously did not have this kind of feeling. He only had endless anger towards Tang Zheng. His body was extremely huge, close to 100 meters long, and had completely wrapped around the Knight of Four Symbols. He was tightening his grip bit by bit, wanting to use this method to defeat Tang Zheng. Seeing that, Huang Xiang and Xiao Bai immediately rushed over to help, but Tang Zheng immediately stopped them. I'll deal with him myself. As soon as he finished speaking, he jumped out of the Knight of Four Symbols' body and stood on top of his opponent. The sea god looked at this guy who suddenly appeared in astonishment and exclaimed, "You're the one controlling this big guy." The moment Tang Zheng entered the water, he felt a huge pressure coming from all directions, almost crushing his body to pieces. He immediately circulated the chaotic Vajra spell to counteract a portion of the pressure, but suddenly, an aura naturally leaked out from his body. Dragon Chi. Tang Zheng secretly exclaimed. This aura was actually the dragon chi that he had absorbed from the 5-clawed golden dragon in the past. This dragon chi was usually hidden in his body, silently changing his temperament. But at this moment, this dragon chi seemed to have been stimulated, completely bursting out, and a majestic aura spread out in all directions. Bang! 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 The other sea demons turned pale with fright. Their legs went soft and they all knelt down, trembling as they lay on the ground, as if they had seen something terrifying. Although Tang Zheng had displayed his strength just now, it did not cause these sea demons to tremble and feel fear from the bottom of their souls. One had to know that the dragon race was the strongest creature in the ocean. Although the dragon race was too mysterious, it was basically impossible for any creature to see its true appearance. However, an instinctive fear of the dragon race was passed down in the genes of these creatures. Although Tang Zheng had only absorbed a little of the five-clawed golden dragon's dragon chi, the aura that burst forth was even stronger than this flood dragon's. Although the dragon chi on Tang Zheng's body was little, it was all essence, and completely surpassed the flood dragon's own dragon chi. At this moment, the other sea demons no longer had any thoughts of resisting Tang Zheng. Even if Tang Zheng wanted to kill them, they did not dare to resist in the slightest. This was the might of a dragon. However, the sea god's reaction was much better than the other sea demons. After all, he was already half a step into the dragon race. However, the shock in his heart was even stronger than the other sea demons. This was because only he understood that the dragon chi on Tang Zheng's body was something that he could only look at but not reach. He even dreamed of having this kind of dragon chi. You. He stammered for a long time, but could not say a complete sentence. Tang Zheng curiously looked at the reactions of all the sea demons, and with a flash of inspiration, he also understood the reason behind it. He thought to himself, the five-clawed golden dragon is really too mysterious. I only absorbed a little of his dragon chi, and it actually has such great power. If he were to personally come to the scene, then wouldn't these sea demons be scared out of their wits? He was not wrong. If the five-clawed golden dragon was really here, many sea demons would definitely be scared to death on the spot. This was the might of a dragon. The dignity of the dragon race was not to be challenged by other sea demons. Tang Zheng also found that after this dragon chi burst out, the pressure on his body disappeared, and his breathing was smooth. He was like a fish that could breathe freely in the sea. Chapter 501. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and stared at the sea god. The sea god's heart trembled as he transformed back into his human form. He resisted the urge to kowtow and said while gritting his teeth, "Why do you have the dragon chi on you?" Tang Zheng laughed coldly, "You don't need to know about this." He raised his leg and walked straight towards the other party. The sea god immediately retreated and waved his hand in panic, "Don't come over." Seeing him so afraid, Tang Zheng did not completely relax his guard. The other sea demons were extremely afraid of this dragon's might, but the other party was a flood dragon after all, so they might not be completely afraid of him. If he was not careful, the other party would counterattack and Tang Zheng would suffer a huge loss. "You forcefully occupied this dragon palace and willfully killed the innocent. Do you know your crime?" Tang Zheng berated sternly. The sea god stammered, not knowing how to answer. "Release the people you captured quickly." Tang Zheng shouted. The sea god remained unmoved. "If you don't want to listen, then I'll do it myself." After Tang Zheng released the dragon chi, he had an inexplicable sense of familiarity with the dragon palace. He could vaguely sense that there would not be any other dangers inside. As a result, he strode towards the dragon palace. The sea god clenched his teeth, his face ashen. Seeing that Tang Zheng was about to enter the dragon palace, suddenly, a fierce light flashed in his eyes, and he pounced towards Tang Zheng. Hiss! Before he even got close, he transformed into a flood dragon, his huge dragon head directly biting towards Tang Zheng's head. The waves behind him churned. Tang Zheng suddenly turned around, the dragon chi on his body seemed to be boiling, the dragon chi became even stronger, a trace of fear flashed across the sea god's eyes, his movements involuntarily hesitating. Just at that moment, a light flashed in Tang Zheng's hand, summoning the heaven-shocking bow and the shooting sun arrow. He knocked the arrow. Whiz! The seawater automatically split to the sides, creating a vacuum. The shooting sun arrow shot towards the sea god with an ear-piercing whistle. The sea god swung his tail, knocking the shooting sun arrow away, and fiercely bit down on the dragon head. Tang Zheng's eyes turned cold as he fired another shooting sun arrow. This time, it was even more powerful than the previous one. The sea god's huge eyes were filled with fear as he felt that the god of death was coming for him. He cursed inwardly and swam to the side. However, his body was too big, so it was not easy to change direction. With a puff, a cloud of blood mist burst out of the sea god's head. The pungent blood instantly dyed the seawater red. Its enormous body twisted and rolled fiercely. Many sea monsters were caught in the crossfire and killed on the spot after being swept by the dragon's tail. Lord Sea God. Gui Qiansui rushed out of the dragon palace and rushed to the sea god's side. However, he was hit and flew back into the dragon palace. The sea monsters, who were afraid of Tang Zheng's dragon might and were lying on the ground, not daring to move, scattered and fled. They looked at the sea god, who was screaming miserably. Gradually, the sea god's movements became smaller and smaller. Finally, he completely stopped and fell on the seabed, motionless. Little White jumped onto his huge body with a squeak and cheered at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng walked over and found that there were 2 shooting sun arrows in the sea god's head. He was completely dead. He pulled out the shooting sun arrows and put them away. Looking at this huge body, Tang Zheng was overjoyed. The flood dragon was not an ordinary monster. His body was a treasure. He directly pulled out the dragon tendon of the other side. With a wave of his hand, the dragon snare that tied the octopus monster flew into his hand. The dragon snare was originally made to trap the dragon clan, but now its level is too low. It can only trap ordinary monsters. If this dragon tendon is added, its quality will definitely rise. When the other demonic beasts saw that their boss's dragon tendons had been pulled out, none of them dared to resist. They all lay on the seabed, trembling. Even the octopus demonic beast that had escaped did not dare to escape. Only fear was left in its heart. Xiao Bai lay on the flood dragon's abdomen. Its little claws dug out, and an inner core flew out. It sucked hard with its little mouth. Whoosh! The inner core was sucked into its stomach, and a golden light was emitted from its body. Tang Zheng looked at Xiao Bai in amazement. It had absorbed the blood essence of the Beast King, and now it had swallowed the flood dragon's inner core. This little guy was really a foodie. The golden light quickly disappeared, and Little White shook its head and wagged its tail, looking very excited. With a kick of its legs, it jumped into Tang Zheng's embrace. Looking closely, this little guy's eyes had changed. In the past, its eyes were fiery red, but now they had turned golden, and in the middle of the golden eyes was a fiery red, like a lifelike flame. Although Tang Zheng did not understand what this change meant, looking at Xiao Bai's happy appearance, this change was definitely not a bad thing. Rubbing its little head, Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. You little brat really know how to find treasures. Although the flood dragon's most precious dragon tendon and inner core had been taken away, the other parts were still treasures. The dragon blood and dragon scales were rare, so of course he would not let them go. With a wave of his hand, he put the dragon body and the 4 symbols venerable into the summer ring. Then, he strode into the dragon palace. He involuntarily took a deep breath, and a faint dragon aura floated in the air. He was overjoyed. No wonder these monsters' cultivation speed was so fast. It must be the effect of the dragon aura. He opened his mouth, operated the mysterious technique, and sucked. Like a bottomless hole, the dragon aura in the air quickly flew into his mouth. In an instant, a whirlwind rose from the ground, and in the center of the whirlpool was Tang Zheng's mouth. The dragon aura in the sky quickly gathered and was continuously sucked into his stomach. The speed at which he absorbed the dragon aura was even faster than the flood dragon. After all, he had the dragon aura of the 5-clawed golden dragon in his body, which was of the same origin as the remaining dragon aura of the dragon palace itself. There was a natural sense of intimacy. After a while, when he stopped, the dragon aura in the air was very thin, and the true qi in his body was overturning the sea. The dragon aura and true qi merged into one, and the true qi rapidly expanded. Boom! There was a loud noise in his mind, and his true qi returned to calmness, but his temperament had changed a lot, becoming more and more majestic. My cultivation has broken through again, 6th grade in India. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. He did not expect that he would be able to pick up a big bargain this time. The dragon aura was too useful. Unfortunately, there was not much dragon aura left in the air, and most of it was absorbed by the flood dragon and other demon beasts. Otherwise, Tang Zheng's cultivation would have increased by more than one level. When the other demon beasts saw this, they were even more frightened. They lay on the ground and looked up at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng did not care about these shrimp soldiers and crab generals. When he went straight to the dragon palace, Gui Qiansui came out with a few hostages. The Sea King was still as arrogant as ever, while Princess Annie and the other two had terrified looks on their faces. Even though they were experienced and knowledgeable, what they had seen and heard along the way had completely overturned their worldview. It was already impressive that they were not scared witless. Kneel! Gui Qiansui spoke and shouted. The Sea King was proud, and glared at An and the other two, and shouted, "Kneel, did you hear Master Gui's order? I'm talking to you, not them." Gui Qiansui was furious, and an invisible force hit the Sea King's face. Half of his face swelled up, and he spun like a top and fell to the ground. He was confused. Wasn't Gui Qiansui on his side? Why did he ask him to kneel and hit him? Gui Qiansui was full of hatred. If the Sea King's subordinates had not captured Tang Zheng on the island, the following series of events would not have happened. Therefore, the Sea King was the culprit. Gui Qiansui even had the thought of killing him. However, it was not up to him to decide. Everything had to be decided by this mysterious young man, and even his life was in his hands. Gui Qiansui was already lying at Tang Zheng's feet, trembling. Previously, he dared to sacrifice himself to save the flood dragon. Now that the flood dragon was dead, he completely gave up the idea of resisting. He only wanted to save his life. Upper Immortal, please don't be angry. I was blind and offended you. I deserve to die. Gui Qiansui kept begging for mercy, and his head kept knocking on the ground. The crystal floor was already stained with red blood. Upper Immortal? Tang Zheng was startled. Was this old turtle's eyes blurred? How am I an upper immortal? I am just a cultivator. All of this is the Sea King's doctrine. We are his subordinates, and we have to follow his orders. We were all forced. Gui Qiansui cried. The other sea monsters also hurriedly kowtowed. Even the octopus monster echoed, Gui Qiansui is right. We were all forced. Please spare our lives. The sound of crying and begging for mercy was deafening. It was mixed with the whining of many sea monsters that could not speak. This scene was particularly strange. A group of sea monsters with strange shapes actually kowtowed to a person, and begged for mercy with snot and tears. In any case, Anne and the others were completely stunned. They looked at Tang Zheng as if they had seen a ghost. Among them, Anne was relatively familiar with Tang Zheng. But at this moment, she had a great feeling of strangeness. She originally thought that he was just an ordinary fisherman. This kind of thinking was ridiculous. How could there be such a powerful fisherman? She could not help but recall some of the legends about the East that she had read in books. He was like those legendary immortals. Moreover, these sea monsters called him an upper immortal, so he must be an immortal. These members of the royal family were staunch believers of God. Although technology was changing, they still believed that there was a God in this world. She did not expect to see an immortal today. Although it was an immortal from the Eastern world, it was still an eye-opener. This was simply a dreamlike experience. This immortal from the East was quite handsome. Princess Anne's mind suddenly had this thought, and a trace of blush appeared on her face. But she instantly felt that this was blasphemy to the immortal. She quickly restrained her expression and looked at Tang Zheng in awe. It was as if she wanted to deeply imprint his appearance in her soul. Chapter 502. Looking at their actions, Tang Zheng came back to his senses. Although An's identity was prominent, he didn't want to have too much contact with her. After all, his identity was too sensitive and he didn't want to make it public. He walked towards them. The Sea King was so scared that his face was stuck to the ground and he didn't dare to move. Baser and Bruce were frightened. Only Anne was much calmer. She had a belief that the other party would never kill her. Your Royal Highness, after you leave, I hope you can keep your mouth shut about today's matter. Tang Zheng said straightforwardly. Anne blinked and said, Are you really an immortal? Hearing that they could leave, Baruth hurriedly pulled Annie, reminding her not to ask questions that would cause unnecessary trouble. Annie, on the other hand, remained indifferent as she stared at Tang Zheng with a burning gaze. I'm just an ordinary person. Everyone has their own secrets. I don't want to tell others. Tang Zheng said lightly. They all call you immortal, so you must be an immortal, right? Immortals are very low-key and benevolent. Did you predict that I would be in danger, so you came down from the heavens to save me? Annie's eyes were burning with anticipation as she asked. Tang Zheng was stunned. This princess's imagination was too rich. She was not limited to the fantasy of a hero saving a beauty, but an immortal saving a beauty. Was her charm so great? Tang Zheng looked at her deeply. Her charm was really that great. Seeing Tang Zheng staring at her, and didn't feel disgusted. Instead, she felt a kind of heartfelt joy. Her face blushed. Cough. Tang Zheng awkwardly coughed and said, Princess Anne, you are out of danger. I will ask them to send you back to the sea. You haven't answered my question yet. Anne eagerly asked. Tang Zheng turned a deaf ear as he waved his hand at Gui Qiansui and said, Since you are the one who brought them back, then immediately send them back. If I find out that you have ill intentions towards them, then I will definitely not let you off. Gui Qiansui was overjoyed as if he had been granted amnesty. He hurriedly accepted the order. Yes, please rest assured. I will definitely send them back safely. Tang Zheng shifted his gaze and looked at the Sea King again. Just as he was about to finish him off, he heard Bruce say in a trembling voice, Immortal, can you let us take the Sea King away and deal with him? Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. This time, the Sea King had humiliated the Swedish royal family. They would definitely want to deal with the Sea King personally, which would be more painful than killing him directly. Thus, Tang Zheng accepted this suggestion. Bruce and Baser heaved a sigh of relief, thinking that this Eastern immortal was not that difficult to talk to. He was quite reasonable. Suddenly, the Sea King panicked and hugged Tang Zheng's leg, crying, Immortal, please spare my life. I will be your slave. I will do whatever you want me to do. Just don't let them take me away. He knew very well that he would not be able to survive this time, so he was so scared. Tang Zheng snorted and said, Are you afraid? Then why didn't you have a little mercy when you captured those people? You brought this upon yourself. Baser, catch him. Baser was overjoyed and quickly caught the Sea King. Let's go. Tang Zheng said lightly. Several bubbles immediately wrapped them up. And still wanted to say something, but she found that her voice could not pass through the bubbles. She could only watch Gui Qiansui take her to the surface of the sea. The bubbles burst on the surface of the sea, and they floated on the surface. Gui Qiansui dived into the sea again. And angrily wanted to dive back to find the immortal, but she was quickly stopped by Bruce. Your Highness, please don't. It was not easy for us to escape. We should rush back to our country immediately. Bruce persuaded earnestly, the king and queen must be very anxious after losing our news. But if we miss this chance, it will be difficult to see that immortal again. And said sadly. But without the help of that monster, we can't dive to the bottom of the sea. Bruce said. Annie hung her head dejectedly. She had to admit that they were too weak to accomplish this task. Woo, a whistle sounded. Baser looked at several huge warships in the distance and shouted in surprise, Warships, someone is coming to save us. It's our country's warships. Bruce was also happy. A moment later, they were picked up on the warships. The news of Princess Anne's safe return immediately spread. The audience all over the world rejoiced, but more people were interested in what happened during this period. When Anne arrived in her country, the world's media had been waiting for a long time. Immediately, a press conference was held. Anne had regained her usual elegance. In front of the world's media, she calmly told a set of statements that had long been unified. Of course, this explanation hid the magnificent and magical story. Instead, it gave credit to the military. But the reporters were obviously not satisfied with this kind of old-fashioned story. Many people asked about a word that appeared in the live broadcast, night. Hearing these words, a deep smile appeared on the princess's calm face for the first time. She closed her eyes and recalled for a while, then said, "Yes, in fact, the biggest contribution this time is this night. He is mysterious, unfathomable, and unforgettable for the rest of my life." The reporters had never seen such a little girl's expression on Her Highness's face. They had never heard such a high evaluation of anyone. Suddenly, the reporter's keen sense immediately realized one thing. This mysterious night was the real big news. "Your Highness, can you introduce this knight to us? I believe everyone wants to know this knight who saved the damsel in distress. This is as beautiful as a fairy tale," the reporter said. Anne's smile became even sweeter and said, "No, this is more beautiful than a fairy tale." Hiss, everyone gasped. Many people had already thought of the front page headline of tomorrow's newspaper, Princess Anne and the Mysterious Knight's Relationship Exposed. It's better than a fairy tale. Your Highness, can you let us know who this lucky knight is? The reporters were excited and asked one after another. Anne shrugged and made a cute helpless expression. She playfully said, "This is my secret." The relationship between Princess Anne and the mysterious knight spread like wildfire and instantly spread all over the world. Many people were heartbroken. If they were the mysterious knight, they would probably wake up laughing in their dreams. Anne was also laughing. She often sat in front of the window and looked at the white clouds in the sky and laughed foolishly. The king and queen saw this and tried to persuade her several times, but to no avail. Of course, they knew about the incident at the bottom of the sea, but it was not from Anne. It was Bruce who told them. The two of them were also shocked by the series of fantastical events. They immediately ordered Barzil to keep his mouth shut. Even Barzil was no longer a member of the peacekeeping force and became a member of the royal guards. They were afraid that he would leak the news. "My knight, I will definitely find you. I've heard that there are many gods in the east, but none of them can stop me, Princess Annie. I will definitely read all the myths and legends, and I will definitely find you." Princess Annie made up her mind as she looked at the clouds in the sky. Tang Zheng of course did not know the princess's thoughts. When Gui Qiansui sent them away, he immediately looked for the dark stone of heaven and earth in the Dragon Palace. The dark stone of heaven and earth was combined with the crystal of the Dragon Palace, so that such a magnificent palace could be built under the water. If the dark stone of heaven and earth was taken away, it would be difficult for the Dragon Palace to continue to exist. Anyway, the Dragon clan was gone, so there was no need for the Dragon Palace to exist. In addition, the sudden disappearance of Sea King Island was bound to attract the attention of various countries. This sea would become a paradise for exploration in the future, and they all wanted to know the reason. Although this was the deep sea, technology was advanced. In time, the Dragon Palace would be discovered, and it would be too late to take away the dark stone of heaven and earth. Therefore, Tang Zheng immediately drove the sea monsters out of the Dragon Palace. Standing alone in the Dragon Palace, he operated the mysterious skill and wandered around the Dragon Palace like lightning. Bang bang bang. One palm after another, he hit specific positions in the Dragon Palace. These positions were inlaid with the dark stone of heaven and earth. When his genuine chi was injected into these dark stone of heaven and earth, the Dragon Palace shone brightly like the sun, very dazzling. All the sea monsters could not open their eyes. Tang Zheng took a deep breath and was shrouded by the dazzling light. He did not move, quietly waiting for the reaction. Boom, boom, boom. The dragon palace shook, and the mysterious layer of light above the dragon palace suddenly broke. Seawater poured into the dragon palace, and Tang Zheng was surrounded by seawater, swaying along with the dragon palace. Huge pieces of crystal fell, smashing into the ground and becoming one with the seawater. More and more crystals fell, and the dragon palace quickly became nervous. However, Tang Zheng's attention was not on the crystals, but on the pieces of dark stone of heaven and earth floating from the collapsed ruins. 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces, Tang Zheng counted them one by one. In the end, the light disappeared, and the crystals turned into powder, completely blending into the seawater. Only the silver-white, 2-meter-wide dark stone of heaven and earth was left floating. A total of 36 pieces, more than what was found under the sorcerer clan's square. Now I have a total of 66 dark stone of heaven and earth. I am only 33 pieces away from 99 pieces. There are still some buried under the imperial city, but I don't know how many there are. Tang Zheng was very excited. If he collected all the dark stone of heaven and earth, he could rebuild the stairway to heaven, go to the mysterious sky beyond, and even bring back the cultivators. Of course, Tang Zheng would not do this easily, but he must control the dark stone of heaven and earth in his hands. When the sea monsters saw Tang Zheng destroy the dragon palace, they all kept quiet out of fear. Some sea monsters were so scared that they fainted. Tang Zheng put the dark stone of heaven and earth into the summer ring. Looking at the shivering sea monsters, he frowned. How should he deal with these guys? Immortal, I have followed your instructions and sent them back. Ah, where is the dragon palace? Gue Qiansui swam back and looked at the empty seabed, stunned. Chapter 503. Gue Qiansui, let me ask you. Tang Zheng said. Gue Qiansui woke up from his dream. There was no doubt that the dragon palace was destroyed by this immortal. Gue Qiansui was very clear that the dragon palace was impregnable and could not be destroyed easily. But in a short time, the dragon palace was destroyed. This showed that the immortal was more powerful than he thought. Gue Qiansui did not have any thoughts of resistance. He crawled on the ground and said with fear, Immortal, please ask. I will tell you everything I know. Tang Zheng nodded with satisfaction and asked, when you faced the human fleet, why did you make their planes and ships lose their power? Gue Qiansui was secretly happy. If it was other questions, he might not be able to answer. Then he would be useless to the immortal and he would not be far from death. Gue Qiansui could not wait and said, Immortal, this is the effect of my unique skill, Mysterious Sound Wave. It is a spell that I accidentally learned. Mysterious Sound Wave? Tang Zheng creased his eyebrows in suspicion. Seeing Tang Zheng frown, Gue Qiansui thought that he did not believe him and quickly said, Immortal, this is indeed the effect of my mysterious sound wave. You can ask the octopus, he can testify. Tang Zheng turned his head and looked at the octopus. The octopus, who only had 2 tentacles left, hurriedly said, Hi Immortal, Gue Qiansui's words are not false. This is indeed his famous skill. Oh, can this spell be taught to others? Tang Zheng no longer doubted and asked curiously. This kind of spell was a fatal blow to the humans' high-tech troops. Tang Zheng certainly could not turn a blind eye to it. Gue Qiansui showed a difficult expression and said, It's not that I want to hide it from you. This spell needs to be coordinated with my throat to release the black sound wave. The sea god once asked about this spell, but he didn't learn it in the end. Seeing the disappointment on Tang Zheng's face, Gue Qiansui panicked and said, Of course, the sea god cannot be compared with the immortal. If the immortal is interested, this little demon can tell the black sound wave to the immortal. Tang Zheng waved his hand. He understood that some spells could only be practiced by certain races. This time, he had already obtained the black stone of heaven and earth, and his cultivation had increased by 1 level. He had already taken all the benefits, so there was no need to covet this ethereal black sound wave. Hi Immortal, since this little demon's mysterious sound wave can enter your eyes, I wonder if this little demon can follow you everywhere in the future. Gui Qiansui said expectantly. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. This little turtle was quite tactful. This kind of monster with special abilities was rare. No matter whether the other party was sincere or not, it was not a bad deal to take him under his wing. All right, from now on you will follow behind me. But I have to tell you first, if you dare to commit crimes and kill people, I will definitely use you to make soup. Tang Jing fiercely said. This little demon doesn't dare, this little demon doesn't dare. Gui Qiansui hurriedly said, in fact, this little demon used to pretend to be an island. In addition to sending out the black sound wave, I also directly fought with humans. And all of this was under the command of the sea god, not out of this little demon's heart. Tang Zheng calmly nodded, I don't care about the past, I only care about the future. Take care of yourself. Gui Qiansui was overjoyed. When the other sea monsters saw that Gui Qiansui had found a good place to go, they all showed a look of envy. Even the octopus monster was envious. He hesitantly said, Hi immortal, this little demon also wants to serve you everywhere? Tang Zheng's face sank and angrily shouted, Little octopus, I have already done enough by not killing you. How dare you be so delusional? The octopus demon was so scared that his entire body trembled. He said in a trembling voice, This little demon is being delusional. Tang Zheng coldly snorted, swept a glance at the sea demons prostrating on the ground, and said, You guys have committed crimes in the past, so logically speaking, I should have gotten rid of all of you. However, the heavens are benevolent, so I will let you guys off, but you have to remember, if you dare to commit crimes in the future, the fate of that flood dragon will be your example. Yes, thank you High Immortal for not killing us. The sea monsters were very grateful. Gui Qiansui, let's go. High Immortal, you can call me Little Turtle. Gui Qiansui said in fear and trepidation. Few after a while, when they finally surfaced from the sea, Tang Zheng took a deep breath and looked at the endless blue sea. He was worried that there was no boat to go back to China. Gui Qiansui seemed to know Tang Zheng's thoughts and carefully said, High Immortal, you can sit on my back. I can carry you anywhere. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. Yes, I almost forgot about this means of transportation. So in the next few days, Tang Zheng rode Gui Qiansui, either stealthily or treading on the waves, and gradually approached the coastline of Huaxia. An open-air beach swimming pool was crowded. The spring festival was approaching, and many tourists chose to go to the south to spend the winter. Splash! 2 water splashes bloomed on the sea, and 2 people emerged and swam to the coast like 2 fish. The tourists next to them looked at them. These 2 guys were swimming with clothes on, so interesting. Passing through the turbulent crowd, Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang took Xiao Bai and Gui Qiansui, who had shrunk into an ordinary little turtle, ashore. The 2 went straight to the airport and took the same day's flight back to ordinary balance. When they set foot on the land of ordinary balance, looking at the familiar streets, a familiar feeling spontaneously arose, but the air seemed to be filled with an unusual atmosphere. When they took a taxi to Shangfeng Shangshui district, this strange atmosphere became more and more intense. What's going on? He looked around, and several suspicious faces jumped into his eyes. There were several people sitting in a shop across the street, and their faces were quite unfriendly. Tang Zheng secretly remembered it in his heart, and without hesitation walked into the district. When he passed the gate guard, he found that there were several unfamiliar faces, and they were not the previous security guards, and the atmosphere of these people was very strange. Tang Zheng was brave, and did not immediately attack, but quickened his pace and ran home, and an ominous premonition gradually hit his heart. Gotcha! When he turned the key to open the door, it was empty. Grandpa, are you home? No one answered, and everything in the house was the same, and there was no clue. Something must have happened. Grandpa, you must not let anything happen to you. Tang Zheng's heart gradually began to panic. He remembered his grandpa's phone number, but his own phone was lost during the fight on the plane, so he had to go downstairs to the public phone to contact his grandpa. When he walked downstairs, an old man rushed out from behind a tall tree, and shouted at him, "Little Zheng, quickly run, there are bad people coming to catch you." Tang Zheng recognized this old man, as he was one of the old people who worked with his grandpa to make the recycling station. Tang Zheng's heart suddenly tightened, and looking around, from all directions, there were already many people rushing out, directly surrounding him. "Little Zheng, quickly run, your grandpa has been caught by them, you can't follow in his footsteps," the old man anxiously shouted. Tang Zheng's raised foot suddenly stopped, and his face was gloomy, as he stared at the people rushing over. The old man saw that he was not moving, and became even more anxious, and wanted to rush over to push him away, but was pulled back by a person behind him. "Tang Zheng, you are under arrest," the leader said to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng coldly laughed and said, "Who are you, and what qualifications do you have to arrest me?" "Hang, if you don't want anything to happen to your grandpa, you better cooperate with us," the other side coldly threatened. Tang Zheng angrily said, "What did you do to my grandpa? He is now in our hands, and not only him, even your good friend Fang Shishir is in our hands. If you know what's good for you, then obediently come with us, or else, you will never see them again." "You also caught Shishir?" Fang Shishir should have returned to the country for the winter vacation, so she fell into their hands. Moreover, from the other side's arrogant attitude, Tang Zheng judged that they must have an official status, and their identity was obvious. "You are from the Dragon Group?" "Hang hang, you are smart, let me tell you, if you offend our Dragon Group, not only you, but everyone close to you will be in trouble." "Shameless." Tang Zheng's eyes were about to spit fire. "You are not my opponent, so you made a move on my family, are you still human? This is war, your war with the Dragon Group, war is cruel, you should have thought of this point when you went against the Dragon Group," the other side arrogantly said. Tang Zheng's thoughts quickly turned. The Dragon Group really put in a lot of effort for the life-continuing pill. After failing to make a move on the plane, they actually turned their sights on his family. "You want me to surrender?" "No way." Tang Zheng knew the Dragon Group's conduct. He must not let the other side catch him, otherwise, it would fulfill the other side's wish, allowing the Dragon Group to deal with his family without any scruples. As long as he was not caught, the Dragon Group would have scruples and would not dare to kill his family. As a result, Tang Zheng pushed out both of his palms and directly struck the leader's chest. The other party clearly did not expect that Tang Zheng would dare to make a move in this kind of situation. Caught off guard, his chest caved in from the palm strike and his eyes bulged out. He flew far away and crashed into a tree trunk, dying on the spot. "Go!" When the others saw this, they turned pale with fright and roared as they rushed towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng's hair stood on end as he roared, "All of you can go to hell." So, turning into an afterimage, he rushed into the midst of the enemies. Peng, 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 the sound of impact rose and fell one after another, the sound of bones cracking could be heard. In the past, he still had some scruples, but now in his rage, he showed no mercy. Huang Xiang was emotionless, so he would not be lenient. The two of them were like gods of death, killing back and forth, the screams were earth-shattering. The setting sun shone down on the land, making it look like hell. When the residents saw this scene, they all hid in their houses and looked out from their windows. They were so scared that their faces were drained of blood, and they were trembling. The sound of the alarm came from afar, resounding through the sky, and the Dragon Group members were getting fewer and fewer. They fell to the ground, blood staining the ground, and even the grass was dyed red. Tang Zheng was in a killing mood, and his eyes were covered with a layer of bloody light, looking sinister and terrifying. "Quickly run, he's gone mad, we're not his opponent." The remaining members of the Dragon Group screamed as they scattered in all directions. Chapter 504. Ordinary balance was boiling. At dusk, an extremely vile murder case occurred in Upper Wind Upper Water, causing the people to keep quiet out of fear. In a short span of 10 days, so many things had happened in Ordinary Balance, causing everyone to be in a state of panic. Even the ordinary people were in danger. Not long ago, ordinary balance experienced a severe crackdown. The people who mingled in the underworld were either locked up or fled. This was the most severe crackdown in the last 10 years, causing the underworld to suffer a devastating blow. Today, no one dared to say that they mingled in the underworld. At the same time, it was said that a secret arrest occurred in Upper Wind Upper Water. It was said that a girl resisted arrest and a chaotic battle occurred in order to protect an old man. However, in the end, she was not a match and was taken away together with the old man. As for the girl's family, they were unlucky. Originally, they were a large family in ordinary balance and earned quite a bit of money from doing business. After this incident, their business plummeted and they lost quite a bit of money. Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang silently moved forward in the night. The above was the news that they had heard. His face was ashen, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He had already guessed that Fang Shishir must have gone to visit her grandfather during the holidays. That was why she had suffered such an unexpected calamity, and even the Fang family had been implicated. I wonder how Lin Hu, Fire Phoenix, and Mu Hongyan are doing. However, when he called the three of them, he found out that the phone had already stopped working. Since they had experienced a severe crackdown, then those places must have been swept clean. Let's first find Shishir's parents. After experiencing such a thing, they must be in a lot of pain. Let's first go and comfort them. When he arrived at Fang Shishir's neighborhood, he did not find any suspicious people. It was clear that the dragon group did not monitor this area in real time. He carefully snuck into Fang Shishir's house. Before he even appeared, he heard Shi Mingqin's voice. Chonghua, how was your investigation today? Is there a way to save Shishir? Fang Chonghua let out a long sigh and said, I've already asked around using my connections, but I'm now a rat that everyone hates. Many of my former partners are avoiding me, hee hee. His self-mocking laughter was filled with helplessness and sadness. It's all because of that little bastard, Tang Zheng. If it weren't for him, Shishir wouldn't have been caught. Who exactly did he offend? What kind of trouble did he cause to attract such a ruthless character and cause our family to suffer such a disaster? Shi Mengqin began to sob, her voice somewhat hoarse. It was clear that she had cried countless times in the past few days. Tang Zheng felt sour in his heart. He had never thought that the dragon group would be so deranged. All of this was caused by his miscalculation. He was extremely regretful. Sigh, Mengqin, this is all Shishir's fate. It's not all little Tang's fault. Fang Chonghua said. Humph, you're still protecting him. Look, your daughter has been captured and you're still protecting him. I already knew that he was not a good person, but this time he caused our Fang family to be in such a miserable state. If I were to see him, I would definitely beat him up. Shi Mengqin angrily said. Tang Zheng did not want to listen any longer. He walked out and awkwardly said, Uncle, Auntie. When the two heard this, they were suddenly startled and turned their heads to look. When they saw Tang Zheng clearly, Shi Mengqin screamed and jumped up from the sofa. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws as she pounced towards Tang Zheng. You bastard, it's all because of you that our family's Shishir was harmed. I will kill you and cut your corpse into 10,000 pieces. Tang Zheng was like a puppet, not moving at all. He allowed her fists to continuously pound on his body. Fang Chonghua seeing this hurriedly pulled his wife and advised, Mengqin, don't be like this. Calm down. Little Tang, sit down first. Shi Mengqin was forced to stop. She was flustered and exasperated as she continuously gasped for breath. She angrily said, Tang Zheng, you still dare to come back? Do you still have a conscience? Tang Zheng did not evade as he shamefully said, Auntie, Uncle, this is all my fault. I harmed my grandfather and also harmed Shishir. Please be at ease, I will definitely save them. Even if I die, I will not let them be harmed. I only see you standing in front of me safe and sound while my daughter has been captured. I don't even know where she is locked up and what kind of hardships she has suffered. Shi Mengqin complained. Tang Zheng was incomparably pained, would rather the one captured was me. You say it so nicely. Originally I said that our family's Shusher was tricked by you. Mengqin, don't say too much. Since little Tang has returned, he will definitely think of a way to save Shusher. Fang Chonghua advised. Tang Jing gratefully looked at Fang Chonghua and firmly said, I will definitely save Shusher. Shi Mengqin's anger disappeared by quite a bit as she fiercely glared at Tang Zheng and said, Then what do we do now? I still don't know, but I will definitely think of a way. These people came for me, and since I have not been captured, they will not dare to touch Shusher. Just who are they? Fang Chonghua asked. Dragon Group, a new secret organization established by the government. How did you become enemies with this kind of organization? Fang Chonghua wrinkled his eyebrows. As a businessman, he knew that citizens should not fight with the government. Hearing that Tang Zheng had become enemies with such a powerful organization, his heart could not help but tremble. It's a long story. Tang Zheng shook his head as he did not want to go into detail. After all, the other party has an official background. If possible, it is better to reconcile. Both sides suffering losses is not the best plan. Fang Chonghua advised. The other party is overbearing and cannot be reconciled. Moreover, they targeted the people closest to me, so I will definitely not let them go. Tang Jing fiercely said. Shi Mengqin heard this and loudly shouted, Look at what he is saying. Just how much ability do you have to go against the country? The Dragon Group does not represent the country. The Dragon Group being controlled by people with ulterior motives is the country's loss. Tang Jing disapprovingly said. Fang Chonghua shook his head. There is an old saying that citizens should not fight with the government. Although I am not clear on the specifics of what happened between the two of you, everything has to be done appropriately. I heard that there was a murder case at Shangfeng Shangshui. Is it related to you? Yes, I was only teaching them a lesson. Fang Chonghua said in his heart that it was not as simple as teaching them a lesson. It was said that many people died, and this was a sign that the situation was getting bigger. However, in order to prevent his wife from worrying, he did not say it out loud. His daughter's boyfriend's way of doing things far exceeded his expectations, and he already had no way of interfering. It's fine as long as you know what you are doing. Fang Chonghua helplessly said. No matter what, you must save my daughter. Otherwise, even if I become a ghost, I will not let you go. Shi Mengqin fiercely said. Tang Jing nodded his head. Uncle, I heard that your business has been affected. You still dare to say that? Our family has been harmed by you, and our business has practically been wiped out. Upon mentioning this matter, Shi Mengqin's evil fire once again shot up. Tang Jing did not blame her, but instead understood her feelings and said, When this matter is over, I will definitely compensate you. He had already decided that in the future he would give them life-continuing pills to prolong their lives. This was more important than any compensation. Uncle, Auntie, I will first go and think of a way to save them. When Tang Jing walked out, he heard Shi Mengqin still complaining. He was helpless and disappeared into the night. After meeting up with Huang Xiang, he walked towards Lin Hu's house. From far away, he saw quite a few policemen patrolling outside Lin Hu's house, vigilantly looking around. He was preparing to sneak in when he heard the lid of a nearby trash can open and a black human head popped out. He jumped in fright, but his eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He immediately pressed down on the head only to hear the other softly exclaim, Young Master Tang, it's me. Tang Jing subconsciously stopped his hand and stared, saying in astonishment, Huzi, how come it's you? Looking at this pitch-black person with the sour smell of garbage, it was hard to associate him with the big brother of the underworld. Lin Hu, who was so black that only his eyes could be seen, involuntarily sobbed, Young Master Tang, it really is you. It's great that you came back. I was useless and was unable to protect the old man and let him be taken away by criminals. My brothers are either dead or captured. Tang Jing felt a pain in his chest as he supported Lin Hu and jumped out of the trash can. Lin Hu's face gradually revealed a happy expression as he stared at Tang Jing, as if he had found his backbone. I knew that young Master Tang would come back, so I hid here every day, waiting for you to come back. Lin Hu grinned, revealing a trace of a smile. Tang Zheng patted his shoulder and said, "Brother, you have suffered." "Not at all, I knew that young Master Tang would definitely come back and lead us to fight a comeback." Lin Hu was full of confidence as his depressed mood was swept away. "Young Master Tang, it is not convenient to talk here. There are too many enemies, so let us leave first." The few of them quietly left and arrived at a small courtyard in the suburbs. The environment here was terrible and it was ordinary Balance's slum area. Lin Hu rhythmically knocked on the courtyard door a few times. It was clearly a prearranged signal. The courtyard door opened a small crack and a pair of vigilant eyes were hidden in the crack. The eyes spun around and when they saw that it was Lin Hu, the other side sighed in relief and said, "Brother Hu, you have returned. Did you find anything?" "Fire Phoenix, look who this is." Lin Hu stepped aside, revealing Tang Zheng behind him. "Ah, young Master Tang, you have returned." Fire Phoenix hurriedly covered her mouth in surprise. "Quickly come in so that we won't be discovered." The few of them entered the courtyard and Fire Phoenix's eyes could not leave Tang Zheng. She was unable to restrain her joy. "Young Master Tang, it is great that you have returned. We now have a backbone." Tang Zheng discovered that Fire Phoenix had clearly become more haggard. He held her hand and said, "You have suffered." Fire Phoenix revealed a brilliant smile and shook her head, "Not at all." But looking at the expression between her eyebrows, it was clear that she had been worried for many days. "Brother, you have returned." A small figure rushed out from the house and directly threw herself into Tang Zheng's embrace. Tang Zheng felt his head ache as he hugged Nana and said, "Nana, brother is sorry for not being able to protect you." Nana reached out her small hand and touched Tang Zheng's cheek. She said in a childish voice, "Brother, there are bad people bullying us. You must beat them away." Chapter 505. This time the Dragon Group had led the attack and even the business system that Mu Hongyan and the others had just established had been completely destroyed. Their previous investments had all gone down the drain. Fortunately, the money from the auction of the life-continuing pill had not been invested, otherwise the losses would have been huge. Tang Zheng did not care about the money. As long as they were fine, everything could be restarted. Regarding the Dragon Group's swift and decisive actions, Tang Zheng's heart was burning with anger. The Dragon Group was really too shameless. Not only did they retaliate against the underground world, they even killed all the legitimate businesses. The reason why Fire Phoenix and I were able to escape was all because of Deng Maohua's information. Lin Hu said with a lingering fear. Tang Zheng remembered Deng Maohua. This was one of the connections he had formed in the police force. He did not expect that it would be of use now. The enemy's background is deep. The ordinary Balance government does not dare to resist. That is why they are still following orders to search for us. Fire Phoenix said hatefully. Tang Zheng looked deeply at them and said, "Everyone has suffered. Since I am back, the enemy will not be able to jump around for more than a few days." They rubbed their palms together and nodded excitedly. "Young Master Tang, we will do as you say." Seeing their excited expressions, Tang Zheng's heart moved. The current situation was becoming more and more serious, and they were all weak. A person's cultivation was of no use, and Mu Hongyan was just an ordinary person, so her strength was too weak. "Hu Zi, Phoenix, let me tell you something. You can decide for yourselves," Tang Zheng said. "Please speak, young Master Tang." The two looked at Tang Zheng with eager eyes. "I am not a martial artist. I am an even more mysterious cultivator." Seeing the two's suspicious expression, Tang Zheng explained the difference between cultivators and martial artists. The two were shocked. Cultivators are not accepted by this world, but cultivators are even more mysterious and powerful. That is why I have an idea. I will let you practice magic and become a cultivator. But this way, you will become the enemy of most martial artists. You will even become the enemy of the Dragon Group. Thus, whether you want to become a cultivator or not is up to you. Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix were flabbergasted. This was like opening a door to a mysterious world in front of them. Young Master Tang, since you are a cultivator, then I will also become a cultivator. Moreover, I have already formed a grudge with the dragon group. We are already mortal enemies, so what if I become a cultivator? Lin Hu said without the slightest hesitation. Tang Zheng glanced at Lin Hu with gratification. Without a doubt, this decision had further strengthened his relationship with Tang Zheng. Fire Phoenix hesitated for a moment, then she looked at Tang Zheng with sparkling eyes. Smiling like a flower, she said, "Young Master Tang, I am a woman, so of course I will listen to young Master Tang. Moreover, you are telling me such a life and death matter, that is truly a sign of your trust in me. If I was still a little girl, then I would have given myself to you. Not to mention, it is only a matter of becoming a cultivator, so of course I, Fire Phoenix, will not shirk my responsibility." Tang Zheng laughed with gratification. "Good, then it's decided. I will immediately pass on a cultivation technique to you too." He had already organized a cultivation technique suitable for beginners and immediately passed it on to the two. They both had a foundation in martial arts, so their comprehension was much stronger than ordinary people. Learning the basics was not difficult. In addition, he also gave them some spirit-gathering pills. "Young Master Tang, then what should we do now? You two focus on cultivating. I will take care of this matter." The two's expression dimmed. They understood that their strength was too weak and could not help much. They secretly decided that they would work hard to cultivate so that the next time they would be able to help young Master Tang. "Tang Zheng, Nana's cultivation cannot be delayed," Mu Hongyan reminded. "After this period of time passes, I will pass on the Dragon God technique to her." The Dragon God technique was a powerful cultivation technique of the Dragon clan. It was even more powerful than the cultivation technique he organized himself. However, the Dragon God technique had requirements for the cultivator's potential and was extremely difficult to learn. Lu Qingmei cultivated the Dragon God technique, and Tang Zheng, with his heaven-defying cultivation, had only cultivated to the first level of the 9 levels. However, Nana was still young. She had profited from a disaster. There was already a trace of true qi in her body that had been nourishing her body. She had enough potential and enough time, so she was most suitable to cultivate the Dragon God technique. The Dragon God technique required careful guidance at the beginning. Tang Zheng did not have the time at the moment, so he could only postpone it. In the middle of the night, the small courtyard fell into silence. Everyone was asleep. Suddenly, rustling sounds came from outside the courtyard. A large group of armed soldiers quickly surrounded the courtyard. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A few tear gas bullets broke through the window and emitted a burst of white smoke. The few people who were sleeping soundly immediately woke up. Tears came out of their eyes and they felt very uncomfortable. Tang Zheng was awakened the moment the tear gas bullet landed. He jumped up like a carp. When he saw the white smoke, he immediately held his breath. "Oh no, this place has been discovered. I didn't expect them to come so quickly." Tang Zheng rushed into the room of the others and found that they were all in tears. Nana was even crying loudly. He waved his hand and a strong wind rose from the ground, blowing away the white smoke in front of him and rushed out with the few people. But just as he rushed out of the house, the courtyard was completely enveloped by white smoke. The stimulation was even stronger. Bang bang bang. Bullets flew in all directions and headed straight for the few of them. Damn it, are they deliberately not leaving anyone alive? Tang Zheng was shocked. The other party was really unscrupulous. They didn't even let the children go. Seeing that they had lost their ability to fight and even their breathing had become irregular, if Tang Zheng rushed out, they would feel even more uncomfortable. "Immortal, I have an idea." Gui Qiansui, who had been hiding in Tang Zheng's backpack, ran out. "What is it? Tell me." Gui Qiansui opened his mouth and spat out a huge bubble. Tang Zheng immediately understood Gui Qiansui's idea. He was overjoyed. "Okay, send them in quickly." The air bubble immediately enveloped them, isolating them from the pungent smell. You guys stay here. I will go outside to deal with the enemies. Tang Zheng, Huang Ziang, and Xiao Bai rushed out. The bullets flew directly past their cheeks. Whoosh! Tang Zheng leapt up and jumped onto the wall of the courtyard. Looking carefully, he immediately discovered that there were 3 layers of enemies inside and 3 layers outside. Tang Zheng, I know you and your remaining forces are hiding inside. You escaped on the plane, but this time you won't be able to escape. Xing Feng's voice came from afar. Looking carefully, he was standing in the middle of the group. He was surrounded by layers of people. He obviously knew how powerful Tang Zheng was and was guarding against him. Xing Feng, you really don't think that your people have died enough? Are you here to die again? Tang Zheng said coldly. Huh, you want to kill my people? Let's see if you have the ability. Xing Feng stepped back, revealing 2 people behind him, Tang Dehai and Fang Shishir. The 2 couldn't move. When they saw Tang Zheng, they were very excited and shouted, Little Zheng, don't worry about us. Hurry up and run. Fang Shishir also said with a firm expression, Tang Zheng, you definitely can't fall into the hands of these people. They won't let you go. Tang Zheng's heart felt as if it was fiercely hit. His face was pale as he said, Grandfather, Shishir, I will definitely save you. Since the other party dared to bring people in front of him, then he would risk his life to save the 2 of them. Hung hung, you won't have the chance. Attack, life or death. Xing Feng ordered. Several people rose into the air. The rocket boosters behind them lit up the night sky. At the same time, the ground troops also set up missile launchers on their shoulders. In the sky and on the ground, they were all equipped with new weapons with great destructive power. Be careful. Tang Zheng's face was gloomy as he reminded. Huang Ziang and Xiao Bai nodded in understanding, attack. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. 2 people and 1 beast turned into 3 afterimages and rushed towards the enemy group. Boom boom boom. Flames swallowed, the earth shook, and countless cannonballs flew towards Tang Zheng and the other 2. The cannonballs exploded in the air, turning into specks of light. It was as if millions of stars decorated the sky. It was extremely beautiful. But beautiful things often meant danger. These specks of light quickly intertwined, quickly weaving into a large net. Bang bang bang. Tang Zheng and the other 2's attacks landed on this large net, but were completely rebounded by this large net. This large net of interweaving specks of light had endless willfulness and was completely impossible to break through. Moreover, the large net released waves of powerful electricity, causing the 3's bodies to emit black smoke. The large net fell down like an inescapable net, completely enveloping the 3. The ghost head blade and Xiao Bai's flames were unable to break through the large net. If we can't do anything, then we'll really become turtles in a jar. Tang Zheng did not care that this was a city. He immediately summoned a 4 symbols venerable. The 4 symbols venerable held the large net and the 3 of them gasped for breath. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, a loud roar came from afar. A black shadow flew down from the sky, and below this black shadow hung an even bigger guy. This guy was dozens of meters tall and was actually comparable to the 4 symbols venerable. This big guy's body was glowing with a metallic luster. Mecha. Tang Zheng was shocked. This was a heaven-defying existence that only appeared in movies, but he actually saw it. No wonder Xing Feng was so confident. Boom. The helicopter released the lock-on device, and the mecha fell from a height of dozens of meters. Its 4 legs hit the ground heavily, causing dust to fly and the ground to shake violently. The surrounding houses also shook a few times. Such a huge commotion had already alarmed the surrounding residents. They were all frightened and fled in all directions, occasionally turning back to look at this scene. This mecha was not in human form, but in the form of a ferocious beast. It had 4 legs, a long tail, and a huge head. Roar. Opening its mouth, the mecha let out a beast-like roar. The sound waves spread in all directions, causing many houses to collapse. Boom, boom, boom. The mecha ran wildly on all four legs. Every time it landed, the ground would shake. Suddenly, the mecha's four legs rose into the air, flying over the heads of the dragon group members and directly pouncing on the four symbols' venerable. Tang Jing reacted quickly and rushed into the four symbols' venerable's body, personally controlling it. The mecha pounced like a tiger and ruthlessly pounced on the four symbols' venerable. Both of them were about the same size, and the mecha's power was very strong. The four symbols' venerable suffered the huge impact and fell backward. Chapter 506. At that moment, Tang Jing felt like dying. Mu Hongyan, Nana, Lin Hu, and Fire Phoenix were all pinned under the four symbols. With the weight of the four symbols, they would have been reduced to minced meat, and he would become the indirect murderer. Kill! Tang Jing roared. The four symbols venerable used his arms to support himself as he stood up. Even though his body was still covered by the net of light and the electric current seemed to want to penetrate through the stone and enter Tang Jing's body, he could not care less. He only had one thought left, and that was to dismantle the mech, kill Xing Feng, and avenge Nana and the others. The Knight of Four Symbols opened his arms and hugged the mecha's head. He used all his strength to try and tear the head off. A sharp cracking sound could be clearly heard coming from the neck. Roar! The mech roared, and its long tail lashed out like a whip, hitting the four symbols from the air. The four symbols was hit by a huge force, and it rolled a circle before coming to a stop. However, because of this roll, the net of light fell to the ground. Huang Xiang and Xiao Bai were freed, and Xiao Bai immediately spat fire at the mech. The mech opened its mouth, and a ball of fire rushed out. The mech could spit fire as well, and the two balls of fire collided, lighting up the area as bright as day. Boom! The two balls of fire exploded in the air, and a black cloud rose. The mech's long tail pierced through the black cloud and came down from the sky, stabbing directly at the four symbols' chest. Screech! The tip of the tail was very sharp, like a large drill. It spun rapidly, spinning viciously at the four symbols' chest, as if it wanted to drill through its body. Ah! Tang Jing let out a scream. Without a doubt, this was the biggest crisis he had faced since obtaining the four symbols. The strength of this big guy's mech was far beyond Tang Jing's expectations. This was the result of science and technology. After so many years of accumulation of science and technology, human society's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds, far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Many of the technologies seen in movies were not imaginary, and could actually be successful, especially under the influence of certain external forces, which could quickly become reality. This mecha was a typical example. Nowadays, every country was researching mecha. Although the general public did not know about it, it was no secret to the national level. However, there were many key technical difficulties that had always troubled the researchers, so the mecha had yet to truly become a reality. But an unintentional incident had facilitated this great project. The appearance of the werewolves. Back then, during the martial arts tournament, the werewolf had been killed by Tang Jing. The werewolf's corpse had been taken away by the military. After that, the researchers had carefully studied the werewolf. A werewolf's body didn't rely on its heart to provide energy. Instead, it relied on its inner core. The inner core contained a considerable amount of energy and was very stable. Thus, the researchers came up with a bold idea. Absorbing the energy from the dantian would solve the problem of not having enough energy to operate the mech. However, this idea was not as easy as it seemed. After countless experiments, they finally discovered that the werewolf's energy was still too weak to drive the mecha. Later, the beasts in the prehistoric heavenly tomb rushed out of the 100,000 mountains and were captured by the military. After taking out the inner cores of these stronger beasts and putting them into the mecha, it could already drive the mecha to do some simple actions, but it couldn't last long. Until the last time when the flame bird was captured alive by the dragon group, the success of the mecha became a reality. The flame bird's inner core was strong enough to drive the mecha completely. Moreover, after the inner core and the mecha combined, there was a miraculous reaction. The inner core was actually transforming the mecha bit by bit, and the mecha gradually gained its own consciousness. Of course, the mecha was still under the control of humans, but because it had its own consciousness, the mecha's combat power had a qualitative leap. This was the mecha's first appearance, and it was very amazing. Its combat power was actually on par with the four symbols supremacy. Xing Feng saw this and was very happy. With such a killing machine, who would dare to go against him in the future? Even the powerful foreign forces were not his match. Xing Feng was an ambitious person. He fantasized about using the mecha to do many things of his dreams, and greater power was at his fingertips. Sparks flew from the four symbol supremacy's chest, and a faint white dot appeared. Without a doubt, if the mecha continued to drill down, it would definitely become a coldness. Tang Zheng gritted his teeth and endured the pain. He grabbed the long tail with one hand and flung it with force. Whoosh! The mecha flew into the sky like a kite, piercing through the clouds and disappearing somewhere unknown. Looking up, the mecha had already disappeared, but Tang Zheng knew that the mecha would definitely not fall to its death from such a high altitude. Whoosh! A strong wind swept down from the sky, and the mecha's figure appeared again. This time, there were 2 additional wings on its back, flapping non-stop. F***ck, this guy actually has wings. Tang Zheng cursed. With a tap of his feet, the four symbols supremacy soared into the air and pounced on the mecha that was diving down. Boom! The 2 sides collided again, and the four symbols supremacy was sent flying with the mecha in its arms. It fell into a large river nearby, causing a huge splash. The 2 big guys fought back and forth in the river, turning the river into a mess. The river water was stirred up to the riverbank, and it was extremely intense. Everyone watched this scene in a daze. Without a doubt, this battle was more intense than any of the previous battles, and it was even more magnificent. The entire city of Ordinary Balance was shocked awake. The citizens looked at the huge creature in horror. The police had completely sealed off the area to ensure that no civilians were killed or injured in this battle. But there was no doubt that after this battle, many people would not want to stay in Ordinary Balance anymore. The city government officials were even more anxious. This was a completely secret operation, and even they, as parents and officials, could not interfere. They could only watch helplessly. This scene looked a little like the end of the world in a sci-fi blockbuster. The four symbol supremacy's fists continuously greeted the mecha's body, and the mecha's tail also mercilessly attacked the four symbol supremacy's body. Both sides were covered in injuries, and Tang Zheng's control of the four symbol supremacy was even more exhausting. He was running out of true chi, but the mecha's power was endless. Nana and the others are dead. I must avenge them. I can't fall. I need energy. I need endless energy. Tang Zheng shouted in his heart. Dragon Origin Pill. I can only rely on the Dragon Origin Pill now. Although there was a danger of exploding and dying from consuming the Dragon Origin Pill, he could not care less at this moment. He immediately stuffed a Dragon Origin Pill into his mouth. He had used the blood of the 5-clawed golden dragon to refine 10 Dragon Origin Pills. Ordinary Dragon Origin Pills were refined with the blood of a flood dragon, and their power was far inferior to Tang Zheng's 10 Dragon Origin Pills. However, he had already used 8 of these Dragon Origin Pills. Now that he had taken another one, there was only one left. As soon as the Dragon Origin Pill entered his mouth, it turned into a majestic energy and entered Tang Zheng's 8 extraordinary meridians. Ah! Tang Zheng shouted. His body was like a balloon that had been inflated, as if it was about to explode. Blue veins popped out on his forehead. He gritted his teeth and held on. His arms wrapped around the mecha's head, and the mecha's tail pierced the four symbol supremacy's back. However, he could not care less. He would rather die than let go. At most, we'll die together. Let's see who can outlast the other. A steady stream of energy rippled out from Tang Zheng's body. However, it did not disappear. Instead, it entered the Four Symbols Supremacy's body. A green light spread out from the Four Symbols Supremacy's body. The majestic energy in Tang Zheng's body seemed to have found a vent and quickly poured into the Four Symbols Supremacy. What's going on? In the past, Tang Zheng needed to consume his true qi to control the Four Symbols Supremacy in battle. However, his true qi would not merge with the Four Symbols Supremacy's body. However, at this moment, the energy had completely merged with the Four Symbols Supremacy. It was like a living being, and there seemed to be meridians in its body that could accommodate the energy. As expected of the guardian of the witch tribe. It has so many secrets. Tang Zheng's confidence increased greatly. The pain in his body decreased sharply, and his strength increased sharply. Die for me. Crack. The mecha's head was ripped off. The Four Symbols Supremacy grabbed its tail and swung it with all its strength. Whoosh. The remains of the mecha flew out. No one knew where it went. Bang. The Four Symbols Supremacy jumped onto the riverbank and glared at Xing Feng. Xing Feng was dumbfounded. He was extremely shocked, as if he was scared out of his wits. He stood there without moving. The other members of the dragon group had similar expressions. They stared at Tang Zheng as if they had seen a ghost. Many people had already quietly retreated. Boom. 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 The Four Symbols Supremacy took huge steps and approached Xing Feng. Xing Feng's face was pale. He retreated step by step. He smacked his lips but could not say a word. Go to hell. Tang Zheng roared and ran. The members of the dragon group in all directions no longer dared to resist. They threw away their helmets and armor and fled. A large empty space immediately opened up around Xing Feng. Only he, Tang Dehai, and Fang Shishir were left. The Four Symbols Supremacy grabbed at Xing Feng, determined to crush him into minced meat. However, the huge palm passed through Xing Feng's body, and he stood there unscathed. Tang Zheng was stunned. He stared at the three of them in a daze. Tang Zheng, you want to kill me? It's not that easy. Xing Feng spoke. Tang Zheng swept his palm over again. It passed through Xing Feng's body again, and the three of them flashed. 3D projection. Tang Zheng suddenly realized that the three of them were not real. They were just projections. No matter how powerful Tang Zheng was, he could not hurt them at all. This was because he was not here at all. Ah! Tang Zheng roared at the sky. The other party was too cunning. They had actually commanded from afar. They had played him. Xing Feng said fiercely, Tang Zheng, you destroyed my Vajra #1. I will come for you. Just you wait. As for those two, they will both die. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure flickered and disappeared without a trace. Chapter 507. Tang Zheng was in a daze, as if all the strength in his body had been sucked out. With a plop he knelt on the ground, his face was pale and his lips were trembling. Brother. A tender voice sounded from behind him. Tang Zheng's whole body trembled, as if he had been electrocuted. He turned his head and looked at Lin Hu and the other three standing in front of him. His pupils could not help but widen. Weren't they crushed to death by him? So they didn't die. An enormous joy filled his heart as he hurriedly stood up and tightly hugged Nan Nan in his embrace, deeply afraid that she would leave him in the next second. It's good that you're all right, it's good that you're all right. He kept repeating. Nana stretched out her small hand and wiped his eyes, with a childish voice said, Brother, you're crying. I'm not crying, brother is happy, it's good that you're all right. Tang Zheng's tears turned into a smile, but his smile was somewhat bitter. Mother said that brave children should not cry, brother is so brave, you must not cry. Nana said seriously. Don't cry, don't cry. Tang Zheng took a deep breath, seeing that they were all safe and sound, his heart was relieved. The others also looked at him in panic. At that moment, they really thought that they would die. But suddenly, Gue Qiansui became big and protected them under his hard shell, saving their lives. Tang Zheng, this dragon group is afraid of your strength. For the time being, they certainly won't dare to harm their lives. You don't have to worry too much, the most important thing is to find them. Mu Hongyan softly advised. But the key point is that the dragon group is very mysterious. Where their nest is, no one knows. Even if I want to save them, I don't know where to start. Tang Zheng said with a frown. This was Tang Zheng's weakness. Although he was strong, he was not well informed. If he had a good relationship with the Li Palace, he could get information from the Li Palace, but now Li Xiaotian was directly standing next to the dragon group. He was at his wit's end. Others may not know the location of the dragon group's lair, but I do. Suddenly, a hearty laughter drifted over from afar. Tang Zheng was startled and immediately turned his head to look. In the darkness of the night, a few people strolled over. The one in the lead was a middle-aged man with a square face and wide ears. The middle-aged man looked around and clicked his tongue. The dragon group is really generous. They even made a mecha and displayed it in front of the world. Xing Feng is too willful. Tang Zheng was surprised that someone would criticize the dragon group so bluntly. Everyone who knew about the dragon group was fearful of this organization, but this person clearly did not place the dragon group in his eyes. Who are you? Tang Zheng asked in a deep voice. The middle-aged man waved his hand and said, Tang Zheng, you don't have to be so hostile towards me. We're not enemies, but friends. I don't know you, so how can we be friends? We didn't know each other before, but don't we know each other now? The middle-aged man said disapprovingly. But I still don't know who you are. That's right. A friend should tell you everything that he knows. Let me introduce myself. I'm Su Tian. The middle-aged man cupped his hands and said in a deep voice. Tang Zheng's face was filled with suspicion. He was sure that he had never heard of this name before. When Mu Hongyan heard this, her expression changed slightly and became very solemn. Looks like you don't know me, but Mu Hongyan beside you has obviously heard of my name. Su Tian said with a smile that was not a smile. Tang Zheng was startled. He turned his head to look at Mu Hongyan. Her expression was serious as she said in a low voice, he's the head of the National Security Bureau. National Security Bureau? Tang Zheng's brows furrowed even tighter. He had only seen this name in movies. He did not expect that it was not made up and was real. The other party was a government official. That meant that he was the same as the dragon group. How could he be friends with him? Are you messing with me? Tang Zheng said angrily. Don't misunderstand. I'm not messing with you. I really want to be friends with you. Su Tian explained. But aren't you the same as the dragon group? Tang Zheng asked back. Su Tian shook his head and said in disdain, being in the same group as Xing Feng is simply a disgrace. Tang Zheng narrowed his eyes in surprise. The other party couldn't be saying this on purpose to gain his trust, right? As if he saw Tang Zheng's doubts, Su Tian continued, Xing Feng ignored the interests of the country for his own benefit. This kind of person is a traitor during wartime. Being in the same group as him will lower my status. Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan looked at each other. Both of their eyes showed surprise. Mu Hongyan thoughtfully said, it is said that Su Tian was upright and outspoken when he was in charge of the National Security Bureau. He was very popular. So you're saying that he and Xing Feng are not on the same side? Tang Zheng was skeptical. Mu Hongyan said, I know a little about Xing Feng. His promotion record is quite beautiful, but many people are quite critical. They say that he is a villain who is unscrupulous. You know, on the first day he took office in the Dianan military division, he did not stay in the barracks. Instead, he went directly to the Long family mansion. Oh. Tang Zheng's eyes widened. This Xing Feng's way of doing things was really unexpected. Xing Feng is very clear that in order to gain a foothold in Dianan, he must establish a good relationship with the Long family, this local snake. Therefore, he has been very obedient to the old man in Dianan for all these years. Tang Zheng remembered that he met Long Xianyuan in Dianan to take revenge. At that time, he had just left the 100,000 mountains when he was found by Long Xianyuan. Maybe it was Xing Feng who tipped him off. This person was really sinister. As a soldier, he did not have the slightest bit of integrity. Instead, he flattered and curried favor. He was really sorry for the military uniform he was wearing. No wonder Xing Feng acted so unscrupulously after joining the dragon group. He has this kind of gene in his bones. Once he achieves the Tao, he will be arrogant. Tang Zheng suddenly realized. Since the National Security Bureau and the Dragon Group do not deal with each other, the enemy of the enemy is a friend. Why not join forces with the National Security Bureau to deal with the Dragon Group? Tang Zheng thought of a plan. The strength and development of the Dragon Group far exceeded Tang Zheng's expectations. The next time they met, he did not know what new weapons the other party would come up with. Moreover, the other party had an official status after all. If they really made a big fuss with the other party, it would not be good for the country. Tang Zheng was born and raised here. He still had a lot of feelings for this country. The National Security Bureau also represented an official status. Therefore, cooperating with the National Security Bureau to curb the growth of the Dragon Group was more beneficial than harmful for Tang Zheng. In addition, Tang Zheng did not know the location of the Dragon Group's nest. He could only passively take a beating. After joining forces with the National Security Bureau, he could take the initiative to attack. Seeing the two whispering, Su Yingtian was not in a hurry to speak. Instead, he glanced at the others, especially at Xiao Bai and Gui Qiansui for a long time. Xing Feng is the representative of a small group of people with ulterior motives. These people have ulterior motives. They do not give advice for the development of the country. They only think about their own interests. This kind of person is an absolute pest to our country. But these people are also in high positions. They are the backings of Xing Feng, which seriously threatens the security of the country. The National Security Bureau is to safeguard the security and interests of the country. These people are the enemies of the National Security Bureau. Su Yingtian's words were loud and clear, sonorous and powerful. Tang Zheng knitted his brows and asked in a deep voice, "Your National Security Bureau is also an official status. Since you know about the existence of these pests, why did you turn a blind eye to them? Isn't this against the purpose of the National Security Bureau?" A bitter expression appeared on Su Yingtian's face. He shook his head and sighed, "That may be the case. But our country is too big. If we don't pay attention to the method, these pests will fight to the death and drag the country that we have painstakingly built into a state of eternal damnation." Tang Zheng was stunned. He only considered his own gains and losses. But the other party considered the overall situation and had more scruples. Could it be that you just let them do evil unscrupulously and do nothing? Tang Zheng asked with indignation. "It's precisely because we won't turn a blind eye that I came to you. You must have seen the battle just now. Why didn't you show up? Could it be that you will turn a blind eye to my defeat or death?" Tang Zheng asked bitterly. Su Yingtian was silent. Silence meant acquiescence. His thoughts were seen through by Tang Zheng. The atmosphere became heavy and awkward. "I don't deny your point. The National Security Bureau is choosing a partner and this partner must prove their strength. If their strength is too weak, it won't be good for the National Security Bureau. On the contrary, it will ruin our overall plan," Su Yingtian generously admitted. This open and above-board attitude was out of Tang Zheng's expectations. He couldn't help but have a good impression of him. However, Tang Zheng still didn't give the other a good face and said with a cold face, "So you're saying that I just proved my strength?" "Yes." Su Yingtian nodded, "We have been paying attention to you since a long time ago. You have come step by step and truly exceeded many people's expectations. At least I am the one who was shocked. Then I have to thank you for thinking so highly of me. Thinking highly of you and looking down on you is what you earned. You used your strength to prove that you can become a partner of the National Security Bureau. That is enough. I can let you understand that cooperating with the National Security Bureau is beneficial to the country and also to yourself. Tang Zheng's thoughts flew as he carefully considered these words. After a long time, he said, let's not talk about the cooperation for now. I am only interested in rescuing my grandfather and Shishir. Everything else is off the table. Suing Tian didn't mind and said with a smile, your attitude towards your family is enough to prove that you are a person who values friendship and righteousness. This is something that I admire. I don't like to cooperate with a cold and heartless person. In order to show my sincerity, the National Security Bureau will fully cooperate with you in this rescue. Then first tell me where the Dragon Group's base is. Tang Zheng asked. In the vast desert in the west, your family is being held there. In the desert. Tang Zheng was shocked. If the other didn't tell him, then it would be really difficult for him to find it. Even if he now knew that it was in the desert, it was still the largest desert in the country. Even in the world, it was ranked first. If he were to look for it himself, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Chapter 508. A military aircraft swept across the sky and flew towards the desert in the western part of Huaxia. The desert stretched as far as the eye could see and was filled with yellow sand. It was like an ocean of sand. Tang Zheng looked down at the desert. It was boundless and reflected the sun's rays. Grandpa and Shishir were locked up in a secret base below. This base was a research and development base for the military. Many secret weapons were developed here. For example, the nuclear bomb was successfully tested and detonated in this desert, shocking the world. The Mecca this time was no exception. All the research and development training was carried out in this deserted desert, so it would not be discovered by the outside world. Suing Tian looked at the excited Tang Zheng and patted his shoulder, warning him, even though the Dragon Group has only been established for a short period of time, they have used a lot of resources, so their development is rapid and the amount of energy they have accumulated is hard to imagine. Even if you are strong enough, you cannot be careless when entering their base to save people. Understood. Although the National Security Bureau and the Dragon Group are not on good terms, but after all, they are related departments of the country. We can't directly attack each other. This time, we can only rely on external support. The specific rescue operation will depend on you. Suing Tian said. As long as we find the base of the Dragon Group, I will take care of the rest. Tang Zheng was full of confidence. Greater than or equal to Suing Tian smiled and shouted, open the cabin and jump. Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang put on their parachutes and jumped out of the cabin. He immediately did a free fall and fell rapidly. The desert was getting closer and closer. Pang! The two opened the parachute. The parachute lifted their body and flew up for a while. Then they slowly fell and landed in the desert. The landing point was more than 10 kilometers away from the base of the Dragon Group. For ordinary people, this distance was life and death. But for these two people, it was like walking on flat ground. Xiao Bai and Gue Qiansui were lying on Tang Zheng's shoulders. This time, Tang Zheng brought all the available forces around him. Looking at the target red dot on the navigation device in their hands, the few of them moved as fast as lightning, heading straight for the target. From thousands of miles up in the sky, one could see that they were like two tornadoes blowing across the desert, sweeping up two huge clouds of yellow sand. Stop! Tang Zheng raised his palm and stopped in his tracks with Huang Xiang. His eyes narrowed into a thin line. The desert in front of him was no different from the rest of the desert. It reflected the light of the sun and was somewhat dazzling. However, this was the periphery of the base, and there were all kinds of surveillance equipment. They had to be careful to avoid triggering the alarm. If Tang Zheng didn't have backup, he definitely wouldn't have been able to quietly pass through this inescapable net of surveillance. But with the help of the National Security Bureau, they listened to the instructions from their headsets and quickly and cleverly passed through the surveillance. Stop. Walk in the direction I told you, Suing Tian commanded calmly. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, Tang Zheng began to walk in the yellow sand, leaving deep footprints in the sand. This set of footsteps was very complicated, as if it was in accordance with some kind of strange formation. This is the password to open the base. This is a kind of formation, a back door left behind by the original designer. Although the Dragon Group has occupied this base, they don't know about this back door. Only by entering through this back door will you not trigger any alarm. Su Yingtian explained. How do you know about this back door and the password? Tang Jing curiously asked. From the day this country was established, the National Security Bureau was born. A department that has existed for too long will always know some secrets that others don't know. Su Yingtian proudly said. Gotcha. When Tang Jing stopped walking, a crisp sound rang out. The yellow sand began to spin like a whirlpool. Voila! The yellow sand disappeared and a black hole that could allow one person to pass through appeared. Jump down. Su Yingtian said. Tang Jing casually asked, don't tell me it's a trap below. You still don't fully believe me. Su Yingtian bitterly smiled and said, if you don't want to jump down, you can go back the way you came and cancel this rescue operation. Tang Jing didn't say a word and jumped down without hesitation. Huang Xiang also followed like a shadow. The black hole suddenly closed and returned to the yellow sand. Even the footsteps were instantly filled up and no longer existed. What entered his eyes was darkness. Tang Jing only felt his body rapidly falling. He didn't know how far down he had fallen. Now that he had jumped into this pit, no matter what dangers lay ahead, he could only press forward and walk this path to the end. Pung! Suddenly, he landed on something soft. His feet finally touched the ground. He wasn't injured. He hurriedly flipped to the side and Huang Xiang landed on the spot where he was just now. Ding! With a light sound, the light above his head lit up. He looked carefully. This was a small room. Other than the light above his head, there was nothing else. There was no sound in his earpiece. This was because the base had cut off the signal transmission. Everything from now on would depend on himself. A metal door was in front of him. Tang Jing listened carefully. There was no movement outside. He grabbed the door handle and gently pulled. Heavy. This door was too heavy. It was as heavy as a 10,000-pound boulder. An ordinary person wouldn't be able to pull it. Damn, if an ordinary person entered the back door, they definitely wouldn't be able to open this metal door. Su Yingtian didn't tell me this. Could it be that he really thinks I can open it? Of course he could open it. He circulated his martial arts and his whole body was filled with explosive power. Holding the doorknob, he slowly increased his strength. Suddenly, the iron door turned without making a single sound. Just like that, a small gap opened up, and a ray of light came in through the gap. Whoosh! Xiao Bai turned into a white shadow and went out. Then he waved at Tang Zheng from outside the door. Obviously, there was no danger. Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang suddenly increased their strength and the iron door was pulled open. Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang passed through in a flash and the iron door quietly closed behind them, seamlessly merging with the wall, becoming one with the wall. Unless it was someone in the know, it was impossible to discover that there was a back door behind the wall. However, this back door could only be entered and not exited. Tang Zheng still had to think of another way to get out. This was what Su Yingtian told him in advance. However, he couldn't care so much. He had to take it one step at a time. Dim light, long corridor. No one knew where it led to. Tang Zheng couldn't help but sigh. The power of the country was too strong sometimes. The saying of man conquering nature wasn't nonsense. In such a harsh environment, under the rolling yellow sand, it was truly a miracle to build such a base. Who knows how much manpower, money and material resources were spent. At the end of the corridor, there was another door. The few of them silently passed through it. After passing through several corridors, Tang Jing could feel that he was approaching the center of the base. However, there were no soldiers guarding these corridors. Clearly, the dragon group was very confident in the defense of the base. They didn't bother to arrange so many people in these corridors. However, Tang Jing didn't let his guard down. The moment they entered the base, he used an illusion to hide their figures so that they wouldn't be discovered by the surveillance cameras. This was the strength of illusions. As Tang Zheng's cultivation increased, his illusions also became more powerful. It wasn't difficult for him to make several people invisible for a short period of time. At the end of another corridor, Tang Zheng stopped. This was because he heard a faint sound coming from the other side of the door. There was someone. What should he do? If he rashly opened the door, would he be discovered? Tang Zheng was in a dilemma. Should he take a gamble? Gamble. Since he had come this far, he couldn't return empty-handed. Just as he was about to push the door open, it opened first. Tang Zheng hurriedly retreated and saw several people coming out from the other side of the door. I heard that the operation at Ordinary Balance failed. The boss is very angry. One of them said casually. Another person said, isn't that so? Who would have thought that the Vajra number 1 couldn't do anything to that brat? But the boss is right. We have his family in our hands. This is our weakness. That brat won't be able to do much. Hee, the boss is smart. Moreover, the Vajra number 1 is just a test product. There are even more powerful ones behind it. When the time comes, that brat will die a miserable death. Tang Zheng's eyes were about to spit fire, but he forcefully suppressed his anger. He signaled Huang Xiang with his eyes, and before the door was completely closed, he rushed in. In front of him was a huge space. Tang Zheng was stunned as he stared at everything in front of him. This was an arsenal. There were tanks, armored vehicles, and even airplanes. Moreover, the appearance of these equipment was very sci-fi. They definitely weren't current equipment. Instead, they looked like sci-fi weapons from movies. No wonder Xing Feng is so unrestrained. The power in his hands is indeed powerful. If these weapons are released, they will definitely blind many people. These weapons were developed with the help of the nation of Qi, but they have become the blades and spears of the dragon group. I really want to destroy these things so that the dragon group won't use them to do bad things. Tang Jing thought bitterly. But in the end, his wolf won over his anger. These were the blood, sweat, and tears of countless researchers. They were the nation's wealth. If they were destroyed just like that, it would be a loss to the nation. On the other side of the arsenal was an even bigger space. When Tang Zheng stood in front of the door, he truly felt what it meant to be shocked. This was a huge underground factory. It was a hubbub of voices and pedestrians. It was a scene of great excitement. One after another, huge objects stood in this huge factory. They were metal skeletons that the workers were assembling. Although they weren't finished yet, one could vaguely see their full appearance. These were mechas that were even bigger than the destroyed Vajra number 1. In addition, Tang Zheng saw cranes hoisting huge weapons onto the huge objects. These were weapons that the Vajra number 1 didn't have. The battle between the Vajra number 1 and the 4 Supremes was a contest of personal combat power. They didn't rely on other weapons like missiles and cannons. However, it was clear that now that these behemoths were equipped with these thermal weapons, this further improved the combat strength of these big guys. Chapter 509. If these giants were to join the battle, then their fighting strength would be extremely shocking and Tang Zheng might not be their opponent. We must destroy them. Tang Zheng's eyes were firm. He still felt that it was a pity for the previous equipment, but these giants were a threat to his safety, so he could not care about anything else. The enemy had a lot of people and he did not want to alert them. It would not be too late to find his grandfather and Shusher first. He and Huang Xiang's figure flashed as they silently passed through the busy factory and arrived at the center of the base. This was the center of the base and there were many people, but he still did not see any trace of the two of them. Moreover, he did not see any trace of Xing Feng either. Searching like this is like searching for a needle in a haystack. I must find someone to ask. His eyes quickly swept through the crowd and soon locked onto a familiar figure, Kai Guibin. Kai Guibin was Xing Feng's adjutant and the second in command of the dragon group. He definitely knew where the two of them were locked up. Tang Zheng was not in a rush to make a move as he waited for an opportunity. After a moment, Kai Guibin stood up and walked towards the door with Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang silently following behind. Bang! Kai Guibin and Kai Guibin entered the washroom and closed the door. Tang Zheng had Huang Xiang inform him outside the washroom and then quietly followed in. The sound of water splashing came from the washroom as Kai Guibin finished relieving himself and opened the door. So. A hand suddenly grabbed Kai Guibin's neck. Although Kai Guibin could not see the hand, he instinctively felt the danger as he subconsciously placed his hands in front of his chest to block the attack. But how could he be Tang Zheng's opponent as his hands were sent flying and his neck was fiercely grabbed? Who is it? Kai Guibin exclaimed. Commander Kai, long time no see. Tang Zheng appeared and coldly said. He and Kai Guibin were old acquaintances as Kai Guibin was his commander during his military training. Although they were not close, they could not be considered as enemies. But now they could be considered as enemies. Since the opponent was from the dragon group, then he could not let his guard down. Kai Guibin looked at Tang Zheng in surprise and asked incredulously, "Why are you here?" "Can't I come?" Tang Zheng asked. "This is the dragon group's main camp. There are countless people here. Are you a match for them all by yourself?" Kai Guibin anxiously said. "You've captured my family. If I don't come and save them, do you think I'll expect you to be kind enough to let them go?" Tang Zheng said unhappily. Kai Guibin revealed a guilty expression and said, "This is Xing Feng's decision, and I did not agree with it. I tried to persuade him, but he's the leader of the dragon group, so I have no right to interfere with his decision." Tang Zheng didn't know if what Xing Feng said was true or not. Although they had some friendship, people changed. Maybe Xing Feng and Xing Feng were of the same mind. Cut the crap. Where are my family members? Tang Zheng asked sternly. They are locked up in this base. Take me to them. Also, where is Xing Feng? Xing Feng left the base early in the morning. His whereabouts are mysterious, so even I don't know. Kai Guibin replied. You're his adjutant. How can you not know his whereabouts? Tang Zheng questioned. He had already made up his mind to find Xing Feng and pull out this annoying nail. Otherwise, his family members would never have a day of peace. Whether you believe me or not is up to you. Even though I am his adjutant, he does not trust me. This time, he purposely hid the mission from me because he was afraid that I would leak information to you. Kai Guibin said in a natural and unrestrained manner. Tang Zheng looked at him suspiciously. He was unable to tell if Xing Feng was telling the truth or not. No matter what you say, you're a member of the dragon group. That means you're my enemy. Don't think that I'll believe you. Take me to see my family right now. If you dare to play any tricks, I'll make sure you die a painful death. Tang Zheng said with killing intent. I've never approved of capturing your family members. This is the action of a coward. It's not the style of a soldier. Soldiers pay attention to fighting fair and square. If you only know how to play these little tricks, then you'll be despised. Kai Guibin said. But in the end, my family members were captured by your dragon group. Tang Zheng remained unmoved. Kai Guibin sighed and said, although I'm the second in command of the dragon group is controlled by Xing Feng. Everything is decided by him. My opinion is only for reference. Tang Zheng jokingly said, then isn't your position as the second in command too sullen? I won't be able to sit in this position for long. Xing Feng is already thinking of ways to get rid of me. Kai Guibin said self-deprecatingly. When the dragon group was first established, Kai Guibin had a lot of valuable experience to refer to. But as the dragon group grew stronger day by day, Xing Feng could no longer tolerate this adjutant who didn't get along with him. He needed an adjutant who was of the same mind as him. From there, he could turn the dragon group into a powerful force in his hands. Because of this, Kai Guibin didn't say anything to Tang Zheng. His current position was incomparably awkward. He indeed wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Tang Zheng half believed and half doubtfully said, "No matter what you say, I won't believe you. I only want to save people. Quickly take me there. I'll warn you again. Don't play any tricks." Kai Guibin said, "Relax, I definitely won't play any tricks. Your family members are only commoners. They shouldn't have been involved in this matter. But I still have to give you a word of advice. Xing Feng is a person who won't give up until he reaches his goal. He covets the life-continuing pill in your hands. If he doesn't get it, then he won't give up. Heng, you tell him to give up. Don't even think about touching the life-continuing pill. I'll give it to anyone, but definitely not him," Tang Zheng decisively said. The two people walked out of the washroom. Tang Zheng returned to his invisible state and followed behind Kai Guibin with Huang Xiang. Although Kai Guibin couldn't see Tang Zheng, he knew that he was behind him. So he didn't act rashly and directly went to a heavily guarded room. Two people stood at the door and extended their hands to block Kai Guibin. "Deputy Group Leader, please wait." Kai Guibin's face sunk as he rudely asked, "What, can't I enter this place?" Group Leader said that without his orders, no one is allowed to enter. The other side refused to budge an inch. Kai Guibin flew into a rage. "Nonsense, I am the Dragon Group's Deputy Group Leader. Why do I need his orders? Get out of my way." The two people looked at each other in dismay. They were somewhat uncertain and hesitant. Kai Guibin's hair stood up in anger as he directly pushed the two people aside and said, "If you want to stop me, then do it. I want to see if Xing Feng can really cover the sky with one hand." The other side clearly didn't expect that the normally amiable Kai Guibin would be so unyielding and angry. After all, Kai Guibin's rank was too high. If he really got angry, the two people would still feel uneasy. They helplessly moved aside and watched as Kai Guibin pushed open the door and walked in. The space behind the door wasn't big, but there was plenty of light. Two familiar figures jumped into Tang Zheng's eyes. He was pleasantly surprised as he directly rushed over. "Grandfather, Shusher." Tang Dahai and Fang Shusher were both handcuffed and shackled. Their expressions were dispirited. After Tang Dahai took the life-continuing pill, his complexion was originally rosy and healthy. But at this moment, it was as if he was seriously ill. Fang Shusher's beautiful face was also filled with exhaustion. She had lost a trace of her beauty and was both mentally and physically exhausted. When they heard Tang Zheng's voice, the two people raised their heads at the same time. They were both surprised and happy to see Tang Zheng's figure appear. "Little Zheng, Tang Zheng." The two shouted out in surprise. But in the next moment, Tang Dahai's expression changed as he said in a panic, "Little Zheng, how did you get caught by them? Didn't I tell you to quickly run? Why didn't you listen to me?" Fang Shusher was more familiar with Tang Zheng's strength and knew that he definitely wasn't caught. She was bewildered as she asked, "You came to save us?" "I'll immediately save you guys." Tang Zheng tore off the shackles, allowing the two people to regain their freedom. "Grandfather, Shusher, you guys have suffered." Seeing their tired appearance, Tang Zheng's nose turned sour. "Foolish child, how can you be so foolish?" "AI." Tang Dahai sighed. "Grandfather, don't worry. I will definitely save you guys safely. In the future, no one will be able to harm you," Tang Zheng said resolutely. In his heart, he secretly swore that whoever dared to touch his family would be sentenced to death. No matter who the other party was, no matter where they were, Tang Zheng would definitely take the other party's head. Don't dawdle. Let's quickly leave this place, Kai Guibin urged. Tang Zheng looked deeply at Kai Guibin. At this moment, he finally believed in Kai Guibin a little. He and Xing Feng were indeed not the same kind of people. Let's go. Tang Zheng was just about to use an illusion technique on Tang Dehai and Fang Shishir to make them invisible when he heard a pang sound as the door was pushed open. Hee, wonderful. Tang Zheng, I guessed that you would find a way to come to this base, so I've been waiting here for many days. A person clapped her hands and stood at the door, smiling as she looked at them. Tang Zheng's pupils shrank as he fiercely stared at the other party. His eyes were about to spit out fire as he gnashed his teeth and said, Li Xiaotian, it's you again. Last time on the plane, it was also her. This time, it was her again. Obviously, she was already in cahoots with Xing Feng. Ever since Li Xiaotian had the intention to kill Tang Zheng, she persevered in wanting to take his life. She didn't even hesitate to wallow in the mire with Xing Feng. This woman was not only two-faced, but also vicious and merciless. Now, Tang Zheng felt that the previously rather annoying martial artist was more amiable than Li Xiaotian. This woman's thoughts were too deep. It was simply impossible to guess. At this moment, she was smiling at you, but in the next moment, she could stab you with a knife. At this moment, he really wanted to kill Li Xiaotian. Even if the other party was the holy maiden of Li Palace, Tang Zheng still decided to get rid of her. Even if it meant incurring the revenge of Li Palace, he still didn't care. Tang Zheng, I said that I would kill you. If I don't achieve my goal, how could I give up? Xing Feng is too stupid. He always thought that this place was impregnable and that you wouldn't be able to find it, much less enter. Li Xiaotian was immensely proud. Chapter 5:10. Do you think you can stop me? Tang Zheng was not intimidated as he walked straight towards Li Xiaotian with a murderous aura. He wanted to kill her. Li Xiaotian did not retreat. The corners of his mouth rose into a beautiful arc as he said indifferently, of course. Tang Zheng had yet to figure out where his confidence came from when the ground beneath his feet shook violently. The floor disappeared and a huge black hole appeared beneath his feet. Other than Li Xiaotian at the door, everyone else's feet were suspended in the air as they fell rapidly. Tang Zheng cried out in alarm as he rushed towards the door. Li Xiaotian did not move at all. Even the smile on his face did not decrease in the slightest. Boom! 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 Numerous gun muzzles appeared on the roof and fired at them. A rain of bullets filled the sky as they shot towards them. Tang Zheng cried out in alarm. His grandfather was an ordinary person. How could he block this rain of bullets? He grabbed onto his grandfather but was unable to avoid falling. After missing this opportunity, they had already fallen several hundred meters. Moreover, they had nowhere to grab onto. Even if they had great abilities, they were helpless. Li Xiaotian stood at the entrance of the hole and waved at the people who had already disappeared. He said with a smile, Tang Zheng, farewell. Bang! Darkness surrounded them in all directions. This black hole seemed to have no end. They had already fallen, who knew how far. Is everyone all right? Tang Zheng, I'm fine. Fang Shishir hurriedly said, where are we falling? Tang Zheng did not know the answer either. Kai Guibin sighed and said, I really did not expect this to be a trap. The other party really put in a lot of effort. I have never heard of such a black hole trap. Tang Zheng finally believed Kai Guibin. He was an abandoned pawn by Xing Feng. From now on, the dragon group was in Xing Feng's pocket. There was no one else who disagreed. Don't be discouraged, everyone. We're not dead yet, so there's still a chance. Tang Zheng pretended to be calm and tried to persuade them. Tang Dehai was in a daze as he choked with sobs and said, Little Zheng, this is all grandfather's fault. If not for saving me, you would not have fallen into this trap. Grandpa, it's not your fault. For you, I'm willing to give up my life. Don't worry. As long as I'm here, I'll definitely find a way to ensure everyone's safety. Tang Zheng knew that this time, the odds were against him, but he still tried to comfort him. A glimmer of light appeared below. Tang Zheng was overjoyed and said, "We've reached the end." But when he saw the scene below clearly, he was so scared that his whole body turned cold. He shouted, "Not good, there's molten lava below." This black hole actually led to the underground magma. No wonder Li Xiaotian was so confident. Even if an expert of the Grandmaster realm fell into the molten magma, they would turn into nothing, not even their bones would be left. What should he do now? With so many people falling down, there was no doubt that they would die. Squeak squeak. Just as he was still in a state of shock, Xiaobai suddenly cried out, and happily rushed towards the magma, as if he was a wanderer returning home from home. Tang Zheng's heart moved, and he was overjoyed. That's right, how could I forget about that? Back then, didn't Xiaobai hatch in the magma? Magma is terrifying to others, but to it, it's like water to a fish. The heavens have not abandoned me. I'm afraid that Li Xiaotian would never have dreamed that his Xiaobai would be so miraculous, able to completely resist the magma. Xiaobai rushed into the magma first, as if he was diving. He suddenly dived in and disappeared without a trace. The others did not know what was going on, and cried out in alarm, "Ah, did it melt? Everyone, don't worry. We're saved." Tang Zheng hurriedly comforted them. As soon as his voice fell, Xiaobai's figure rushed out of the magma, splashing a fiery red spray. "Xiaobai, quickly think of a way to save us." Seeing that they were about to fall into the magma, they could already feel the hot air waves. Xiaobai cried out, opened his small mouth, and suddenly sucked. The fiery red magma turned into a thin line, and quickly flew into his mouth. In an instant, the magma fell a long distance, but Xiaobai was still tirelessly attracting the magma. His small belly gradually bulged, but he looked like he was enjoying it very much. "Gue Qiansui, become bigger, carry everyone." Everyone's falling speed was very amazing. Even if they could safely land later, this speed was enough to crush everyone. Gue Qiansui's defense was the strongest, so Tang Zheng pinned his hopes on him. Gue Qiansui quickly became bigger, and several people immediately lay down on Gue Qiansui's turtle shell, falling rapidly. The fiery red light gradually faded, and the magma quickly decreased at a speed visible to the naked eye. Xiaobai's belly became rounder and rounder, his eyes became brighter, and his snow-white hair emitted a trace of red light. Whoosh! When Xiaobai finally sucked the last bit of rolling magma into his stomach, he turned into a small ball and fell to the ground. He tried to kick a few times, but he could not get up. Bang! With a loud sound, Gue Qiansui hit the ground, and rocks flew. The huge impact made Gue Qiansui bounce a bit before he finally landed on the ground. Everyone was lying on the turtle shell, but they still suffered a lot of impact. Fortunately, it was not life-threatening, so they were temporarily relieved. "Gue Qiansui, how are you?" Tang Zheng asked with concern. "Shangxian, don't worry. I'm fine," Gue Qiansui said. Tang Zheng nodded, and helped his grandfather and Shi jump down from the turtle shell. When his legs stood on the ground again, he felt so warm and steady. Kai Guibin also jumped down. The light around was very dim, and the walls were still glowing red, so it was not completely dark. Xiaobai. Tang Zheng saw Xiaobai lying on the ground with his feet in the air, and quickly rushed over to pick him up. But he could not help but cry out in pain, and almost threw him away. It was hot all over, like a flame. Seeing that its eyes were brimming with energy, Tang Zheng finally relaxed. It was obvious that it was fine. "Xiaobai, thank you." This time, if it was not for Xiaobai, everyone would have died. It deserved this thank you. Squeak squeak. Xiaobai proudly blinked, as if saying you're welcome. It looked very cute. Putting down Xiaobai and letting it digest the magma, Tang Zheng looked at the others. They were still in shock, and their expressions were not good. Especially the old man, whose face was pale. The experience of escaping from death made his old heart almost jump out of his throat. "Where are we?" Tang Dahai asked. Kai Guibin bitterly said, "A few thousand meters underground." From the time they fell, they could roughly estimate how far they fell. "How do we go up?" Fang Shishir asked. Kai Guibin smiled bitterly, "I can't climb up anyway. It depends on whether you have the ability. A few thousand meters is not impossible to climb up." Tang Zheng looked at the surrounding stone walls. The stone walls were very smooth. It was difficult for ordinary people, but if Tang Zheng wanted to climb up, it was not impossible. After surviving a great disaster, there will be good fortune. "Everyone rest first, I will explore the way," Tang Zheng said and jumped up the stone wall. His 10 fingers were like knives as he grabbed a piece of rock and stabilized his body. He was like a spider, quickly climbing up the stone wall. After climbing a few hundred meters, there was no light at all. "Little Zheng, be careful," Tang Dahai said with concern. "Grandfather, I'm fine." Tang Zheng thought, and a ball of true fire jumped out from his fingertips, illuminating the surroundings. "Ah!" Tang Zheng was shocked. The scene in front of him was out of his expectations. There were 3 holes diagonally above him. "Why are there 3 holes? When we fell down, we didn't feel that there were other holes." Tang Zheng was confused. Different holes must lead to different directions. If we go to the wrong hole, then it will be impossible to climb up. Originally, Tang Zheng thought that it was a straight path, so he was not too worried. However, the fact was that there was more than one hole, making it difficult to climb. 3 is 3, then I'll try one by one." Tang Zheng did not give up and prepared to enter one of the holes to explore. However, the corner of his eye glanced down and he found it difficult to move his gaze. F***ck, what the hell, why is there more than one hole down there? Tang Zheng just crawled a distance in the darkness and did not feel that there were other holes, but the scene in front of him was completely different. He climbed up from one of the holes, which meant that he had already chosen one of the many directions. Even if he climbed up now, it was very likely that it was the wrong direction. He wanted to cry but had no tears. He had thought that the situation was very serious, but it turned out that he had underestimated it. He could foresee that there would be countless forks above, but he had no choice. In other words, although they survived, the chances of finding the exit were slim. "Let's go back the way we came, otherwise it will be easy to separate from them later." But there were 3 holes in front of him, which one should he choose? After hesitating for a moment, he could only choose one based on his feelings and then crawled down, but after crawling for more than 100 meters, 3 more holes appeared in front of him. F***ck, are you trying to kill me? If I choose to come here, won't I go crazy? Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry, but he had to bite the bullet and choose one. After crawling for a while, the hole appeared again, but this time it was not 3 holes, but 2 holes. "Grandpa, sure. Tang Zheng shouted, hoping that their voices could point him in the right direction. However, there was no answer, which meant that he really went in the right direction. This place is connected in all directions, just like a maze. It's completely dark. What am I supposed to do? Should I go back? He pondered for a moment and did not go back. Instead, he chose one of the holes and crawled down. Since there were so many black holes, he wanted to see where they led. After crawling for a while, a hot air wave hit his face and a red light appeared. Magma again. Tang Zheng was shocked. This meant that this was the end of the black hole. He went back the way he came and crawled into another black hole. Huh. Chapter 5:11. When he reached the end, the light became even brighter, illuminating the black hole. It's not magma. Tang Zheng was stunned. In front of him was a spacious stone room with a clear spring in the middle of the room. The light of the water was faint, and the cool feeling was emitted by this clear spring. Why was there a clear spring here? Why was it so different from the other black holes? Tang Zheng was puzzled. He jumped down, and the sound of his landing echoed around him. Walking to the side of the spring, he could see his reflection on the surface. The water was so clear that he could see the bottom. There was a small stone the size of a thumb at the bottom of the spring. If it weren't for Tang Zheng's superior eyesight, he might have overlooked this stone. This place was full of mysteries and Tang Zheng would not let go of any clues, so he stretched out his hand and took out the stone. It was cold to the touch. It wasn't a stone, but a plant seed. There was a faint green light flowing around it. What is this thing? Tang Zheng had never seen this kind of thing before. He couldn't help but carefully examine it. But after looking at it for a long time, he still couldn't figure it out. Forget it, I'll put it away first. Tang Zheng didn't examine it. He put it away in his sumra pouch and went back the way he came. It took him a lot of effort to find his companions in this interconnected cave. When he announced the location of the cave, everyone's expression changed. They knew their chances of escaping were slim. The heavens will always leave a way out. We'll find a way. Tang Zheng encouraged them. Luckily, he had stored a lot of food in his sumra pouch, so he wouldn't starve for the time being. In the base, Li Xiaotian was sitting in front of a large video screen. He sat cross-legged and stared at Xing Feng. Saintus, Tang Zheng's death is a good thing, but the life-continuing pill also went with him. How can I report this to my superiors? Xing Feng's face was ashen as he suppressed his anger. Li Xiaotian was unmoved. He shrugged and said, "That's not my problem. We're partners. You've achieved your goal, but you've harmed my interests. How can this be? I only care about Tang Zheng's life and death. Only a commoner like you would care about the life-continuing pill. However, seeing how anxious you are, as a former business partner, I can give you a clear path." What, Minglu? We've already sold so many life-continuing pills, why don't we start with those people? Li Xiaotian asked with a smile that was not a smile. Perhaps some people would never have dreamt that Li Xiaotian's casual words would lead the trouble to them. Of the 10 life-continuing pills, 9 of them were sold to the 3 great clans, and the last one has already been impatiently consumed by the buyer. Don't tell me I have to snatch the last one from the 3 great clans? One of them lightly said, "He is stronger than you expected." Yes, his cultivation speed is hard to predict. After a while, he will give people a big surprise. Wu spoke the truth. We searched all the way here. First, we went to the capital, but he had already left. After that, he disappeared into thin air. After suddenly appearing, he caused such a huge commotion. He really isn't a little guy who can stay idle. Lan Yu's face revealed a faint smile. I wonder where he went now? Wu said regretfully. He must have gone to save his grandfather. Is there any information on where the old man is being held? Lan Yu asked. In the base in the northwest desert. Then let's go. Yes, sir. Wu did not hesitate. Although he knew that this would conflict with the dragon group, so what? If he dared to stop her and her master's wife, he would kill him. Ordinary Balance's shocking battle had already spread to the ears of many people. Yan, Yi, Song, and Chu were the first to know of the news. The 4 great families were all shocked. Not only were they shocked by Tang Zheng's strength, they were even more shocked by the strength displayed by the dragon group. This newly established official organization actually had such great power. It was simply shocking to everyone's eyes. In the dark, many people already felt that the current situation had undergone a subtle change, as if a storm was brewing. In the Ye family, Yi Dingdang hurriedly rushed into his parents' room and asked, "Is there any news of him?" Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang looked at each other speechlessly. Yi Dingdang became anxious and asked, "Is there any news? Say something." Feng Xinyang held his daughter's hand and said earnestly, "Ding dang, Tang Zheng has disappeared. Just like last time, he disappeared into thin air. No one knows where he went. How is that possible?" Yi Dingdang was in disbelief. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. "No, his family has been captured. He will definitely go and rescue them. As long as we know where they are, we can find him. Dingdang, the situation is far more complicated than you think. Everyone has underestimated the dragon group's strength. Right now, no one dares to rashly start a conflict with the dragon group," Yi Tianlei said earnestly. His words were filled with a sense of powerlessness. The great families originally thought that they were strong enough to not be restrained by the officials. However, they did not expect that the strength of the officials this time was far beyond their imagination. They were the frogs at the bottom of the well. They thought that they could do whatever they wanted with just one martial scholar expert. However, once the Qi country's officials showed their strength, they were suppressed. "You are afraid of the dragon group, but I am not. I am going to find Tang Zheng. If I have to die, I will die with him," Yi Dingdang said resolutely without the slightest fear. "You really are my, Feng Xinyang's, daughter. You are not afraid of the heavens or the earth." Feng Xinyang stroked her hair and said lovingly. "Dingdang, even if you really want to die with Tang Zheng, it is impossible because no one knows where those two people are. The dragon group is too mysterious. Outsiders have no way of knowing where they are." Yi Tianlei said helplessly. "Are we just going to sit here and wait for death?" The two of them were silent. This was also a helpless action. Yi Dingdang was extremely disappointed. She unwillingly stomped her feet and walked out in large strides. Song Yu and Chu Xiaofang were currently toasting each other. The two of them had excited expressions. Chu Xiaofang excitedly said, "Tang Zheng, that brat is really courting death. He provoked the big guy of the dragon group. Now he is not far from death. Tang Zheng has disappeared. Maybe he has already been secretly eliminated by the dragon group." Song Yu said with a smile. "Huh, that's even better. In any case, he's no longer a concern." Chu Xiaofang said proudly. Dragon Elephant Mountain, Yan family. Yan Patian, Yan Qishan, and Yan Luyun had already gathered together. The expressions of the 3 generations of grandfather and grandson were not good, as the matter this time had far exceeded their expectations. "Father, can Tang Zheng survive this crisis?" Yan Qishan asked. Yan Patian squinted his eyes, remaining calm and collected, as if he did not hear anything. Yan Qishan and Yan Luyun looked at each other helplessly, and fell into silence. Dong dong dong. A burst of clear footsteps sounded out. Yan Patian suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Yan Qingyi. Yan Qingyi shook her head at her father and said, "Father, the heavens are unpredictable. I am not confident that Tang Zheng will be able to survive this time." The corner of Yan Potion's mouth twitched. "Qingyi, didn't you say that Tang Zheng will become the person who will turn the tide in the future? Why do you say that the heavens are unpredictable?" Yan Qishan could not help but ask. Yan Qingyi said indifferently, "I don't know what Tang Zheng encountered this time, but my predictions have deviated greatly. Even the things that I predicted in the past have become illusory. You're saying that Tang Zheng might not be the one to turn the tide?" Yan Qingyi fell into silence, which could be considered as tacit agreement. Could it be that he encountered something big this time, and even the heavenly secrets have changed? Yan Patian asked suspiciously. "I don't know either," Yan Qingyi said. This was something that she had never encountered before. In the past, the things that she had predicted would not change, but this time, it had become illusory, causing her to doubt her own prediction skills for the first time. Chapter 5:12. Xing Feng brought a group of people in and arrogantly looked at the 4 people in the hall. He did not have the reverence that the others had towards the Yan family. Yan Potion's pupils constricted slightly as he stared fixedly at Xing Feng. Of course he recognized this fierce person who had recently risen to prominence. Group leader Xing, what brings you here? Yen Padian went straight to the point. The Dragon Elephant Mountain has a myriad of phenomena. Yen family is entrenched here. What a grand occasion. Xing Feng said without answering the question. This is all the foundation that my ancestors laid down with a blade and a spear. Xing Feng smiled without batting an eyelid, and finally got to the point. I heard that the Yen family obtained a few life-continuing pills. I wonder if you can part with them? Yen Potion's heart trembled. The other party was actually here for the life-continuing pill. The principle of possessing a jade ring is truly not wrong. However, the Yen family was not an ordinary family. How could they hand over such a precious thing just based on a few words from the other party? The life-continuing pill was obtained by Lu Yun. If group leader Xing has taken a fancy to it, then I can sell it to you. Yen Padian did not directly refuse. However, this could already be considered a disguised rejection, because Yen Padian knew very well that Xing Feng would definitely not spend this money. Sure enough, Xing Feng frowned and said, I'm not going to spend money. Yen Padian sneered, then I can't help you. I don't want this life-continuing pill, but the people above. If you don't give it to me, you know very well what the consequences will be. Xing Feng pointed up and said. This was already a form of coercion and enticement. Yen Padian had seen too many people who relied on their power to bully others in his life. Ever since he got older, Xing Feng was the first person who dared to do so. Yen family's money is earned bit by the people below. If I were to waste it like this, then I would be poked at behind my back. My life is coming to an end, and I don't want to be cursed like this. Yen Padian had already expressed his attitude. However, Xing Feng did not plan to stop here. He said with a fake smile, then this will bring a lot of trouble to the Yen family. I have lived for so many years. I have many fears, but I am not afraid of trouble. Yen Padian said in opposition. Xing Feng did not expect that his opponent would not give him any face at all. His face gradually turned ashen as he said, then don't blame me for being merciless. As you wish. Xing Feng snorted and turned to leave. Seeing his figure disappear at the door, the few of them didn't look too good. Yen Qishan worriedly said, Father, Xing Feng's forces are very strong. If we reject him like this, we will attract a lot of trouble. The Yen family has even rejected the Li Palace, so why would they kowtow to the dragon group? When Yen Qishan heard this, he couldn't say anything more. Pass down the order. Tell the people below to pay attention to the slightest sign of trouble, Yen Qishan said again. They accepted the order. Although the news of the ordinary balance battle had been blocked from the public, this news still grew wings and traveled across the sea, reaching the ears of various countries. The Atlantic Empire and the island nation were among the first countries to know of this news. Huaxia's rise in power in the past few years was too rapid and eye-catching. Naturally, it was the focus of attention of many forces. This time, the appearance of the King Kong #1 was truly dazzling. The other countries' projects were all in a state of stagnation, but Huaxia was the first to succeed. How could this be? Immediately, many spies sneaked into Huaxia to secretly inquire about the details. In the magnificent castle of the Rockefeller family, Louis stood respectfully in the middle of the hall, facing the elders of the family. The person in the middle was the head of the Rockefeller family, Louis's father. His facial features were somewhat similar to Louis's, and his voice was deep and dignified. Louis, the last time you went to Huaxia, you did bring back a lot of news, but there was not a word about the Mecca. This is your dereliction of duty, understand? Louis bowed his head and said respectfully, yes, but my descent plan has been implemented to the final stage. I can give Huaxia the heaviest blow. Even if they have Meccas, I can let them have a taste of the annihilation of a country. This plan is really good. Use the lives and blood of Huaxia people to open the mountain river blood sacrifice array and let the demon race descend. This will bring disaster to the people of Huaxia. When the cultivators were expelled, the demon race will definitely hold a grudge and will definitely attack Huaxia. We can reap the benefits, the head of the Rockefeller family praised. Lewis added, when the demon race descends, I will form an alliance with them. When they first come to this world, they are at their weakest. With our help, they will get twice the result with half the effort. They will definitely not refuse our kindness. Even so, we can't take it lightly. The secrets of the Mecca must be obtained because this is our weapon to restrain the demon race in the future. Yes, our intelligence personnel have already infiltrated Huaxia. The Huaxia people are a people with obvious bad habits. There is a saying that is very popular in their country that money makes the world go round. We will open the way with money, and it will be successful. We will definitely get the secrets of the Mecca. Lewis was full of confidence. In addition, why is there no movement from the 100 Faces Star Lord you mentioned? Is he really going to hide in the 100,000 mountains? This is indeed very strange. Although he escaped, he did not leave the 100,000 mountains, and the fate of the demon god is unknown. But father, don't worry, I have sent people to keep an eye on the 100,000 mountains. As long as they come out, we will know. It's best if the 100 Faces Star Lord starts a massacre and muddies the waters even more. Only then will we be able to fish in troubled waters. I hope so, haha. Only complacent and high-pitched laughter remained in the hall. Yellow sand filled the sky, and the red sun hung high in the sky. Two figures flashed across the yellow sand, leaving only shallow footprints. The two of them were like a gust of wind, like a torrential rain, advancing forward courageously. Not long after, the two of them stopped on top of a patch of yellow sand. This is it? Lan Yu asked. Wu nodded. It's right under our feet, but I don't know how to enter. The corner of Lan Yu's mouth curled up as he smiled and said, since we found our target, it's easy to enter. As soon as he finished speaking, his foot landed. With a muffled sound, the yellow sand flew up from the ground, as if it had escaped the effects of gravity and soared into the air. With the place where her foot landed as in the blink of an eye, a huge circle was formed, and the yellow sand within it completely flew into the sky. The endless yellow sand made the azure sky turn yellow as well, creating a great scene. However, Lan Yu remained calm and collected, as if he had done nothing. Wu's eyelids twitched. She had always known that her master's wife was a martial artist, but she had never known her true cultivation. Now that she saw her make a move, she couldn't help but be shocked by this scene. A huge metal dome appeared beneath their feet. With a kacha sound, the dome opened automatically. A group of people rushed out, glaring angrily as they shouted, "Who are you? How dare you trespass into our base? We're looking for someone." Wu said. Since you've come, then don't even think about leaving. The leader has ordered that anyone who dares to trespass into the base will be killed without mercy. The other party was aggressive. Caw caw caw. The sound of gun bolts being pulled rose and fell. Lan Yu's face was full of smiles, without the slightest trace of fear, and asked, "Has Tang Jing been here before?" Bang bang bang, the sound of gunshots answered her. Wu was about to take action and block the bullets for his master's wife, but he saw Lan Yu lightly point her finger, and the yellow sand that filled the sky fell down. The bullets were completely blocked by the yellow sand and fell to the ground. As she pointed her finger, the falling yellow sand in front of her flew out. One turned into two, two turned into four, and in an instant, the yellow sand completely scattered, turning into millions of fine sand. Puff puff puff. The fine sand pierced through the opponent's chest. This group of people's bodies were riddled with holes as if they had been shot by a shotgun. They died on the spot and fell to the ground with a loud bang. One finger to break yin and yang, nothing more than that. I said that I would find the place. It's not difficult to enter. Lan Yu believed that she would not walk to the place where the dome opened just now and pointed out again. Whoosh! A strong wind rose from the ground, sweeping up a cloud of yellow sand and rapidly spinning as it bombarded the ground. Boom! The ground trembled, and a large hole appeared in front of them. The yellow sand rustled and fell down. Lan Yu raised his leg and jumped into the cave. Without any hesitation, Marshall followed. The two of them entered the base, but an ear-piercing alarm sounded in their ears, and they heard a series of shouts. Enemy invasion, accept the challenge, accept the challenge. However, Lan Yu leisurely walked towards the center of the base. Wu Yi followed beside her step by step. She looked around and was extremely vigilant. This time, she finally understood the strength of her master's wife. She was not inferior to her master at all. Immediately, a sense of reverence arose. If she had this kind of cultivation at her master's age, then her life would not have been in vain. Halt! A pair of soldiers rushed over, aimed at the two of them, and pulled the muzzle of their guns. Lan Yu's slender hand casually waved in front of her, and the bullets whistled through the air towards the walls on both sides. Sparks flew in all directions, but they were completely unharmed. "Where is Tang Zheng?" Lan Yu asked softly. Although the voice was extremely soft, it was like a clap of thunder in everyone's ears. Everyone's expressions changed drastically, and blood even flowed out from the corners of their mouths. "Stop her, stop her!" Someone shouted, "Quickly inform the boss." However, how could these people stop the two of them? Lan Yu seemed to have entered an unstoppable realm, and wherever she passed, the enemy would automatically split into two sides. That indomitable aura caused everyone's hearts to pound, and some people couldn't even bend their fingers to pull the trigger. Expert. This thought appeared in everyone's mind. Only those who had been transformed into super soldiers understood what it meant to be frogs at the bottom of a well. Originally, they thought that they were already outstanding, but compared to a true expert, they were worthless. Seeing that the two of them were about to reach the center of the base, one of them finally couldn't help but shout, "King Kong number 2, send out King Kong number 2. Boom! With a loud sound, the ground trembled violently, causing people to be unable to stand steadily. However, Lan Yu and Wu seemed to have taken root under their feet, and were not affected in the slightest. Bang! A pair of feet blocked the two of them. Looking up, they saw a huge monster blocking their path. Chapter 513. King Kong number 2 was the upgraded version of King Kong number 1 and had been equipped with many weapon systems. A huge revolving gun was aimed at Lan Yu and Marshall. Da-da-da. The muzzle of the gun turned, and the bullets poured out like water, shooting toward the two people. The moment the gun turned, the two of them jumped to the side. Lan Yu leaped and jumped onto warrior number 2's arm. The bullets couldn't hurt her at all. King Kong number 2 turned its head and stared at the enemy on its arm. With a caw sound, a black cannon barrel suddenly appeared on its shoulder. Boom! A cannonball shot towards Lan Yu. Lan Yu's figure was like a willow catkin as she lightly dodged and floated onto King Kong number 2's shoulder. A pair of slender hands grabbed onto the cannon barrel. Bang! The cannon barrel was directly pulled away. With a flash of light, the cannon barrel in Lan Yu's hand was like a crutch as it ruthlessly smashed towards King Kong number 2's head. King Kong number 2's huge head tilted and sparks flew everywhere. Its huge body swayed and almost fell backwards. King Kong number 2's fighting strength was originally not limited to this, but because this space was not big, it was restricted. Lan Yu was originally strong and relied on her nimble movements, which was why King Kong number 2 was so passive. Lan Yu's face was calm, but the calmer it was, the more terrifying it was. "Hand over Tang Zheng or I'll tear this big guy apart," Lan Yu said. "Tang Zheng is already dead. If you want to find him, go to the underworld," someone shouted. Lan Yu's expression finally changed when she heard this. She gradually became gloomy, as if a layer of frost had formed on the surface of a calm lake. "You guys killed him?" "Yes. To go against the dragon group, you will die without a burial ground. You dare to kill him?" Lan Yu's brows gradually revealed a killing intent that was as cold as a steel blade. "Impossible, how could you possibly kill Tang Zheng?" Marshall's heart felt empty for no reason as he shouted in panic. If you don't believe it, go to the underworld and reunite with him. Then you will naturally believe it. The dragon group was aggressive. King Kong number 2, kill the two of them. Roar. Vajra number 2 let out an angry roar and got down on all fours. With a sudden swing of its body, it threw Lan Yu off. Then, it bent its front legs slightly and kicked off its hind legs, pouncing towards Lan Yu. Lan Yu didn't retreat or dodge. She slowly raised her arm. Compared to Vajra number 2's huge body, her arm was like a small stone compared to a giant rock. However, her aura was not weak in the slightest. She stood firmly in place, like a sea-stabilizing needle in the sea, unmoving. She raised her arms to her chest as Vajra number 2 pounced in front of her. In the next second, she felt as if she would be bitten into pieces by that huge mouth. Everyone's eyes were fixed on her. The members of the dragon group were delighted. This attack was definitely going to succeed. Just now, the Vajra number 1 had not unleashed its full strength, which was why it was in a passive position. Wu's heart also jumped to her throat. She really wanted to rush forward and block this attack for her master's wife, even if it meant sacrificing her own life. However, she found that her legs were no longer flexible. She turned pale with fright. It turned out that the aura that her master's wife had displayed had completely intimidated her, causing her movements to become sluggish and her muscles to stiffen. After practicing martial arts for so many years, she had only felt this kind of aura from her master. However, the aura that her master's wife had displayed was not weaker than her master's. Vajra number 2 came to a halt, just like a speeding sports car that had suddenly come to a halt. It stopped right in front of Lan Yu. What was going on? Everyone was stunned. The members of the dragon group were even more stiff. Their complacent expressions were still hanging on their faces, but their mouths were already wide open. Hand. Those with sharp eyes immediately noticed that there was a hand in front of Vajra number 2. It was a very slender hand, but in everyone's eyes, this hand was filled with endless power, causing their expressions to change. Break. Lan Yu's red lips slightly opened as she spat out a word. However, this word was earth-shattering. It was like a sudden clap of thunder, rumbling and reverberating in the air. Before everyone could understand what was going on, they saw a crack spreading from the fingertip. In the blink of an eye, Vajra number 2's metallic head was filled with cracks. Boom! With a loud explosion, this huge head exploded into pieces of metal, scattering in all directions and smashing onto the members of the dragon group. However, they were still in a daze. This was because they were already stunned. Their brains had temporarily lost the ability to think. Was this still a human? Many people were thinking about this question in their minds. However, they were quickly awakened by the sound of Vajra number 2 falling to the ground. Everyone stopped in their tracks. Although they were not far from Lan Yu, this short distance was like a natural moat that no one dared to cross. In fact, no one even dared to try to take this step. Lan Yu lifted her leg and walked towards the crowd. The other party immediately retreated to the side, fearing that they would not be able to make it in time. Marshall followed her master's wife step by step. It was like a dream, but there was a person's figure that was becoming more and more familiar in her heart. She silently muttered that she must find Tang Zheng. The two of them walked to the center of the base and passed by the huge workshop where mechas were assembled. Lan Yu did not even look at it. In the end, the two of them arrived in front of the bottomless black hole. The black hole was like a bloody mouth that devoured people, causing people to feel fear. Lan Yu stopped for a long time. Her eyes gradually dimmed. She faintly sighed and turned around to leave. Marshall hurriedly chased after her and asked, "Mistress, is there really no hope? That hole is so deep that I can't see the bottom. I don't know where it leads to. Even if I were to fall in, I would still die without a doubt, let alone him." Lan Yu said listlessly. "Then if we can't find him, how can we prove his identity? I'm going to ask your master. He should have a definite answer. If he really is my child, I will come here again. At that time, it won't be just a mecha, but the entire base and these people will be buried with my child." His tone was cold and murderous. Just hearing it would make people tremble in fear. Fortunately, her voice was not loud and the others were hiding far away from her. Otherwise, they would have been even more frightened when they heard this. He couldn't help but recall the bits and pieces of his acquaintance with Tang Zheng. Especially the skin-to-skin relationship in the 10,000 huge mountains, it was even more deeply etched in his memory. Back then, although she tried her best to forget that matter, it was like a nightmare that was deeply imprinted in her mind. It would appear from time to time. After all, she was a girl. Of course, she would remember the first time in her life. No matter how hard she tried, it was impossible for her to forget. On the contrary, the more she wanted to forget, the clearer she would remember. Now that he was dead, she should have been happy. After all, she used to wish that she could eat Tang Jing alive. However, she found that she was not happy at all. She was listless, as if all the strength in her body had been sucked away. She left with her mistress like a walking corpse. Seeing the two figures swagger and disappear into the vast desert, the dragon group seemed to have awoken from a dream and was completely boiling with excitement. When Xing Feng, who was far away in the capital, heard this news, he was so angry that he spat out a large mouthful of blood. When he found out Wu's identity, he was unable to restrain his anger, and wished that he could immediately find the martial sect to get back at him. However, he was already past the age of impulsiveness. In the blink of an eye, he gradually suppressed his anger and turned his attention to another person. He had searched through all kinds of information, but there was no information about this person. This made him very frightened. Such a heaven-defying expert was actually wandering under the information of the dragon group. This made him feel a deep sense of fear. However, he was sure that the other party was from the martial sect. This made him feel even more mysterious and powerful. Originally, he was full of confidence that he could contend against the three great organizations and even pull them down from their divine altar. But now, he realized that his thoughts were too naive. Although the dragon group relied on its powerful resources and scientific and technological strength to allow its overall strength to soar, it was still a short time after all. If it wanted to contend against a deep-rooted organization like the three great organizations, it was still quite a distance away. No wonder after Li Xiaotian saw the strength of the dragon group, she did not feel the slightest bit of fear towards Xing Feng. Instead, she wanted to leave and did not have the slightest bit of reluctance, because she had this kind of strong confidence, firmly believing that the dragon group was not a match for the Li Palace. Thus, from the beginning to the end, she had only used the dragon group and did not truly put the dragon group in her eyes. The reverence she usually showed was all an act. Xing Feng immediately felt a deep sense of powerlessness and humiliation, but this feeling did not last long before it turned into another kind of belief. He urgently hoped that the dragon group's strength would rise to another level and suppress the three great organizations. He wanted this proud, mysterious organization to be ruthlessly trampled by him and trampled under his feet. As soon as possible, increase the fighting strength of the other Vajra. Xing Feng gave the order. Furthermore, immediately carry out repairs to the base and increase the security. We absolutely cannot let outsiders take advantage of this opportunity. Ding ling ling. Suddenly, the red landline beside his seat rang. His heart trembled as he hurriedly calmed himself down. This number could only be called by a few people, and these people were his backing. However, just as he placed the phone beside his ear and listened to a few words, his face became extremely gloomy as he said in fear and trepidation, "Tang Zhang is indeed dead, but the life-continuing pill did not completely follow him. I will make a military pledge. Within 10 days, I will definitely deliver the life-continuing pill to you." Xing Feng's voice was sonorous and powerful, with some of the aura of a soldier. However, the seductive manner in his words was incompatible, completely lowering his imposing manner. After hanging up the phone, he took a deep breath and frowned. "The higher-ups are urging me for the life-continuing pill. If I am unable to take it out, then the position of the leader of the dragon group will be in jeopardy." Suddenly, a strong sense of crisis welled up in his heart, making him realize a serious problem. Although it seemed that he had great power now and had countless elite soldiers in his hands, All of this was given to him by the people above him. As long as the higher-up said a word, all of this would be taken away and he would become a penniless fellow. No, I must firmly grasp the dragon group in my hands so that no one can take it away from me. If those old fogies can do whatever they want, why can't I, Xing Feng, do the same? His face was ruthless as he gritted his teeth. He silently made up his mind and many different thoughts appeared in his mind. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.